folks. So let's just see. First things first, Bill. What was that message you sent me? Something about History Month in the whole of Blooming Bridgend in...
Yes, every September now, Bridgend County organises a History Month where all the history groups in the borough, and there's about 6 of us, actually do something. There's also a series of talks arranged in the little cinema in the new town hall.
Okay.
And the first one is a blockbuster. It's Janina Ramirez, the glamorous TV historian, the one who walks around in ancient ruins in high heels, So looking forward to it. So yeah, there's something on nearly there is every week. There's something on 3-4 times, etc. So I'm tied up with some of those.
Okay. So you're going to Crete in October?
In October, yeah, I'll be walking in Crete with my little group, me and 3 of my ladies. So it's going to be a long.
Oh, is one of them called Andrea?
No. You don't know these, Carl, at all.
And Andrea looked quite dishy with nice black hair, but that's life.
What have you done to your hair?
Oh, what do you mean? What have I done to my hair?
Well, it's all sort of. Well, is that the new style? Is it?
That's the new 80s style. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
good luck.
Okay then. So thank you for that, Bill. If you've got nothing else to say, I'm going to say one thing that Henry did do his research in regards to a question I asked about some Roman artifacts, and he proved exactly what I wanted him to prove, that the information that is available on the internet is not as comprehensive as stuff in books, which I'm not going to be doing that tonight, simply because we don't have time, and we'll tie it in for next week. But well done, Henry. Thank you for doing that research. And then it'll make a little bit of a 5-minute talk in regards to this book. So thank you for that, Henry. But talking about Henry, anything else you'd like to say, Henry?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Euros from the last one.
By the way, Henry, do you still want me to send you those euros in the post? I got about 10. I got about £10 worth of coins. No, seriously. They've been jangling around in my car, and I just thought I don't. Michelle said, "Who are you going to go to?" And I said, "That French bloke who turns up for my classes on a Wednesday." Well, she said, "That Irishman," and I said, "Yeah, that's the one."
They'll come in handy when I go back.
Yeah, good.
Next week.
Well, if I chuck a load in an envelope anonymously with my, if I send a load of coins in an envelope anonymously with my business card, you know it's from me.
Not money laundering, then.
No, my business card's in there. Nobody's going to know it's from me. Okay. So, anything else from you, Henry?
No, only obviously quite a long week driving around, coming down from north.
Yeah.
And bumping into some rubble.
Oh yes, we use those images tonight, and maybe I want you to talk about them, because I did a good job last night, but it's probably nice to have a little sort of what you seeing and what I'm seeing, that type of thing. So we'll do that. That comes up anyway. If there's nothing else, Henry, I'll move on.
No, move on.
Move on. Right, Goff. Anything you want to say, love?
No, nothing to report at the moment. Thank you.
Good. Do you know what? I've been catching stuff on BBC Radio 4 this week, and there's been some pretty good stuff. I've had to sort of come back to it. There was something specific which you probably listened to as well, but I can't remember the name. Anyway, anything from you, Richard?
No, nothing. Nothing Richard, of any importance.
Richard looks like the dark side of the moon tonight. You can see part of it in sort of shadow, like me. I don't know what it is with the light tonight. Right, so we've got a few things I want us to look at tonight. I've just got to make sure that my image is lined up, which it should be, because I've been mucking around with images. We had one article that came in last night rather late. So, and also I've just realized some images out of sync on here, but with in a short while, but we can easily come back to them. So, we're going to start off with the tree, right? So if we start off with the tree image, and let's just, okay, let's just share. Okay. Right, good. You should actually be seeing on your screen not an image of me. Oh, and apparently somebody was describing guys, you talk about Alice Roberts, right? I talk about Bethany Hughes. Apparently Bethany Hughes' new series is pretty good. So yeah. So are you seeing a tree on the image?
Yeah.
Right, so as you know, folks, I live very near a place called Llandomoen, which is near Llandovery. And I'm not saying much, but the person that started the fire has been dealt with by the local people because West Wales, Carmarthenshire, was everyone had to evacuate their houses. Michelle works near there as well. She couldn't go to work, so she had to work somewhere else. And one person that we are doing some filming work with the new film that I'm working on, he's got this tree and he's got some ancient trees there. This one's Betty. She's about 450 years old. She's one of the oldest birches in Britain. Birches don't live that long. And you saw on the news that the fire line was going to engulf the whole village of Llandomoen. It didn't. Something out of a fantasy book. The 200 Gurkhas went in, started to dig ditches, started to sort of break the fire line up. And this tree, amongst all the other ancient trees in Llandomoen, were actually saved. So that's good news. And there's a few old buildings there that have been saved as well. So that's really, really good news. That's something good to start off with this week. And other than the horrible things you've been seeing in the news, I did go off on a tangent about something tonight, and I'm wondering if it's going to happen the same thing. I don't know. Oh yeah, something completely different. I asked what you did this week. I went to see the Hollywood Vampires and the band The Damned at Cardiff Castle on Saturday. It was Friday. It was absolutely brilliant. Except as we're walking down the road, everybody had this alert signal going off, including people standing in the middle of the road. And it was quite something like out of an apocalyptic movie where everybody stands still looking at their phone. It was really, really strange. And all people's phones all went off at a different time. Anyway, that's my week. So Roman Britain, the Roman world, with me, karl-james Langford, and let's crack on. So what I did, my scrolling on my phone, and I thought, wow, we've got to do this. So I thought this was really good because it was talking about the Herculaneum scrolls. Yes, we need to do that again. And one thing that I felt was really fitting was this image. And the reason why this image was really, really fitting was I just thought there's a lot going on here. And what's going on is there's lots of phases of reconstruction going on here. And when we get to the last thing tonight about Colchester and some glass, the same thing came up last night, that the glass that's been found in Colchester from a certain archaeological excavation may not have been destroyed in a fire associated with Boudica in AD 60. It may have been destroyed in an earlier fire, put in another slant on the layers at Colchester, Camel and Junum. That's if we get there tonight, but we'll definitely be doing a lot more about that next week, some melted glass and so on. But anyway, the point is with this, what really interests me is not just the nice bit of rendering and of the various layers of plaster and really nice sort of panels, a nice color, greens, deep purple, reds, whatever is there. What really interests me was what's behind here. I know Bill's into this type of thing as well. And what interests me is what we're seeing. And what we're seeing is we're seeing this layer of stone. And at some time, there was an earthquake in the past in Pompeii, Herculaneum and Pompeii, Herculaneum, and they've reconstructed the wall here. So phase one, another phase here. They've done some reconstruction here in the past, like before AD 69, and there was another earth tremor. There was another earthquake, and what did they do? They did this. They did another bit of reconstruction with Roman tiles, which is absolutely brilliant, right? So then we've got another phase of reconstruction, right? We got this phase of reconstruction here. Now, this is really interesting. So we got this area wall, well, probably from before AD 60 in Herculaneum. We've got this level of reconstruction, probably relating to the earth tremor. And then we got the other one that we got 3 phases here. I was looking at this last night, and I may have made a mistake last night because I said that this was another layer of reconstruction before AD 79 in Pompeii, just before the big one went up. And I just thought, is this reconstruction actually modern reconstruction, right? And or is this antique reconstruction? That's really interesting, because I like to know what is our real archaeology and what isn't. And that'll lead us on to some images that we're looking at in regards to the likes of Henry on his explorations up north. But we'll come on to that. I thought that was really, really interesting. And again, just one last thing. Do you see the way that the stones being sort of put on an angle to build?
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Carl.
Am I breaking up? That's because. Am I hearing clearly now?
Yes.
Am I sounding clearly?
Yes.
Oh, right. And the reason why I was breaking up then was Anne was trying to come online. That's why. What I was saying was that obviously you've got the bodge builder here, and you've got the other type of builder here making a better job. But I wanted to show you that. Right, next image. I thought this was really, really interesting. This is another one of those bits of news. This is from Italy, a life-size marble statue of Hercules. So this dates from somewhere in the 100s, when this is the Roman world. This is when Christianity hadn't come. And the interesting thing about this is that when you look at a little bit more detail as we sort of come in there, right? They're saying that they initially thought that looking at that bust on the coin, which actually comes from Emperor Decius, right, who reigned for a very short period of time, no more than 3 years, right? So they thought, right, looks like Decius. When they actually analysed the statue, right, they actually thought, this is actually a statue of Hercules that's been recarved to look like Emperor Decius, right? And we know it's recarving because you can actually see the sort of really rough lines of the chisel marks on the carving there, right? So that indicates obviously somebody's probably done an okay job, but they haven't repolished it. It's been discarded. And the other thing about this story is that I thought was really interesting is has the person who's writing this got the ascend bit right? Because they've said archaeologists believe this sculpture was eventually buried beneath earth and rubble during construction work in the mid 1900s. So when we say mid 1900s, this is odd, because then it goes on to say where it remained hidden for centuries, and we're thinking, right, my translation of that is that it may have been found right after centuries. They knew it, and then it was reburied, and now we found it today. That's what I'm thinking of. But that's a really nice bit of sort of looking at that and sort of getting a picture, getting an idea. But if that hadn't been re-stylized, right, that would be really nice and polished. It'd be put a rag over it, damp rag. It would really look the bee's knees. But this is how we know it's been recarved. Next image. We've got another image, right? So that one there, that one, and that's, yeah, we go to Henry. So just recapping what I've got. Haven't done this story yet, and I keep meaning to come back to this story. We'll come to the story next week, because what's happening, there's lots of work on prehistoric sites at this minute because of this excavation season. And also I didn't mention that there have been excavating at the Nessa Brodga. The time team have been excavating at Nessa Brodga, and they found a new circular building, right, to add to the other ones that are at the Nessa Brodga, have been excavated by Nick Card. So time team were excavating there. Very similar to some of the buildings that me and Bill visited on the more than one occasion that we've been to Orkney together. I've been to Orkney with Bill 3 times, amazingly enough. So I just wanted to capture this because we didn't do this when we did the will stuff. I don't know where it went, but this is sort of the will that was found at Traddfynydd in the mid 1800s and 1840s, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, but there were 12 of them that they found altogether. Only one survived and ended up in London, as we know, in the early 2000s. One thing I thought, looking at this, I thought actually these little patches here showed obviously decay, but I'm thinking, am I looking at this and thinking, are there other signs that this may have actually been a document before it finally ended up as a will? So I was thinking that, and I thought, right, okay, what I'd really need to do, I might go and have a chat with the people at the National Museum of Wales and actually go and see this document, take some really nice photographs if I can. So I thought I'd bring you that. So this is what we're going to do at the end of today, right? If we're going to have time, then that'd be really, really good. So I'm thinking maybe what we'll do, we'll take our break, maybe roughly about 5 minutes past, 10 past, and then I'll be able to work out where we are in the theme of things. Unfortunately, last night the lecture went on until 17 minutes past 10, right? So we did 3 hours last night, and Pat said she was with us at 17 minutes past 10. She said this lecture was a bit long, and I said, yeah, Pat, you should have left us about an hour ago. Anyway, so she'll be back next week. So we're going to be looking at this. So the next slide is Anne, quickly.
She must have been enjoying it.
She did enjoy it because she was still with us. In fact, last night was quite riveting because there was there 9 of us? There was 9 of us last night, and everybody could relate to everything that we did. And the last thing with glass, with this stuff, the Budokan glass.
You're giving them better ones than us.
Shut up, Anne. They're not better than ones than you guys. They're as loving, as happy as you guys. Anyway, cracking on. So this stuff with Colchester and the glass, I know it's dated 1996. There's been more updates then, and I've asked Colchester Archaeological Trust if they can send me some updates and some more images. The images associated with this are absolutely spiffing, but we've got some at the end today. So what we're going to do is going to be me and Henry talking, right? So so Henry, hopefully his thing is on, right? But Henry's been up to the likes of Scotland to pay some taxes, and the point is he went to not this place, but he went to this, and I've been here as well with a certain woman that I used to frequent with. He went here, I've been here, and this is actually which is the tower there, right? And the other image in the middle is something I put on there. So coming in on this in a few moments, Henry, and when we look at this sort of bits of wall and so on. But the one thing I can immediately say is that Hadrian's Wall, one thing that you can obviously see, right, is that the stonework here is thinner than the stonework here. And one thing that people don't tell you is that Hadrian's Wall was built in phases. So the east side was thinner than the west side, right? And it's at this point, which is near Bird Oswald, that it's at this point that the wall is wider. And as I say, on the western side, it's narrower, right? And when you think about it, Bill, particularly Bill's interested in this, if you work out the length of wall that it's thinner than the eastern side, right, you could probably work out that there was quite a few thousands of tons of stones that they saved by having the wall thinner on the western side, right? And that's a really interesting point. There is one thing about Hadrian's Wall is that, well, lots of things about Hadrian's Wall. When we think about Hadrian's Wall, what we can say is that it was never built in a single afternoon. It took about a decade plus to build, right? And there's lots of people talking that even before Hadrian got there, they were already starting to work on it, and things were already kicking off. So when I say kicking off, they were building it rather than having problems from people from the north and the south, right? And there's another point that comes up in regards to people on the north and the south, which we'll come up with, but that's life. But one thing I would say is that this is all going to be rendered, and this is going to be whitewashed, and it's going to be less accessible from people to get up onto the wall from the south side, right? But there's something that deals with the stuff on the south side, which we'll come up with in a short while. But let's move on to the next image. So we're looking at this here. And this is another one of my little lookings on the internet. This is in London, a little bit of a comparison with the wall that we've just seen. And in London, you get about 3 meters, maybe 4 meters of build-up in London, right? So that means that the Roman stuff is buried. So when they're building underground car parks in London, guess what they come up with? They come across Roman walls. And guess what? Those Roman walls are on display in these car parks. Do you know what? I've always said that if I survive until 60, I might start thinking about that book that I'd love to write about Roman stone remains in Britain, and basically phone up all the places in London and say, look, I want to see this stuff. I want to look at all this stuff in the car parks. I want to take a photograph. I want the world to know, because none of this is in any book out there. You think you might find it on the internet, and it's not. While I've been doing research on Roman stone remains in Britain, it's just, I'll sod it, I'll just look in books, because it's not up there, right? There's so much stuff in London that you just cannot find on the internet. So when you troll through books and stuff, you find it. Except this is a photograph that somebody posted on TikTok, but that's life. Anyway, but I thought I'd show you that as a little bit of a comparison. And notice one thing, right? This is the point. Notice the one thing. There's no banding in the walls associated with Hadrian's Wall. Why is that? The typical way of Roman building is with banding. So basically, you've got sort of, you might have some foundation Roman tiles laid, right, which go through the thickness of the wall, which is 2 meters wide or 1.5 meters wide. It's going to go thickness of the wall. Then you build up a stone layer. Then after 1 meter, you've got more brick. Then after 1 meter, you got more brick. After 1 meter, you got more brick. This is a string course, right? On the outside, you'd render it, whitewash it, ox wash it, or whatever, ox color, wash it, and then ox blood, and then basically, but you don't get this with Hadrian's Wall. In all the discussions we've had about Hadrian's Wall, that's one thing that we've never mentioned, right? So the one thing about this is, we're going to go on to Henry. Henry, is this as ditty as it looks?
It is quite compact. It's not, I wouldn't call it a luxury status bungalow. It is a watchtower, the base of it. It's not particularly big.
No.
I wouldn't say you get more than a few legionnaires actually in there.
Yeah.
And you're right. So basically what we've got a mile castle, which is obviously every mile, and then you've got a mile castle, you've got 2 turrets like this. You've got a mile castle, 2 turrets, mile castle, and along the way you get forts.
I think that's a Roman mile, which is less than a current imperial mile.
You are correct. You are correct. So but when you think about these things, right, you I know you can't get many people up in this, but if you look at the reconstruction and you think, right, you've got the ground floor, and you've got this floor, and you've got the roof, and you're just thinking, well, there's something eerily not safe about this, right? Because if a group of people wanted to attack this, they just kick in the door, and you're just thinking, and this is a giveaway to what Hadrian's Wall is not. And you might think that along the way there might be up to 10 people billeted in here, but obviously some people staying awake at night to look out on the watchtower, and other people sleeping, other people managing. That's the situation. But as things would as what we do find with these is as the wall itself is basically moving through time, whether these were garrisoned after, most of them were garrisoned after about AD 200, AD 300 or not, we don't really know. But if you look, right, if you look clearly, right, you can sometimes see that it looks like the watchtower may have actually been built before the wall. And it's just sort of analyzing these little facets about the wall, and you could take all day looking at this. But I basically said to everybody on my Tuesday class, this is where Anne thinks the Tuesday class is more elitist, right? On the Tuesday class, because they're all close to York. I said, if I ever win the lottery or I get a sum of money, we're going to hire a minibus and we're going to get some people up from South Wales, you guys or whatever, and we're going to go to York. And a group of us are just going to look at the stonework at the walls of York, right? That's all we're going to do. And then the other people who don't want to do the stonework, they can go and look at the Bath House, and they can go look at the Jorvik Viking Centre. But there's a couple of geeks on my Tuesday class who just want to join me looking at walls and looking at these types of details. So
just to say that this is positioned literally on the top of a ridge, and it drops about 50 foot straight down into a river. And
yes,
it's a sheer drop.
That's the River Irfon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on, is it the river? Well, I think that's right. Anyway, if not, you could double check me on that. Anyway, now I made a comment about you last night, Henry. Right, I just thought either Henry was slightly drunk when he took these photographs, or they looks like they're quite a little bit subside. These are brilliant images, by the way. A reply to that little accusation.
Not at all. We couldn't find a pub anywhere.
But is it me, or lots of these images, because you've got the length? Am I thinking you've got the length and they look a little bit askew? But is there a little look at subsidence with these? What's going on? Obviously, this is the south side, and the other bits, the north side. Is that correct?
It is dropping a bit. Yeah, the other side is the north side. The right hand side is the north side.
Yeah.
So that it is dropping a bit, and as you go further along, it does just collapse.
Right. Okay. So there is subsidence. Yeah.
Yes.
Can I just make one observation as well? This is just looking at the image. You've got just under a meter here, right?
That's right.
So that's interesting. Is this the is this the eastern side where the wall is thin, or is this the western side where it's the average thickness? What are we talking about? Do you remember?
That's quite narrow, isn't it? That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite narrow. It is probably only 1.5 meters across.
Yeah. What interests me is this base plinth here. So we've got plinthing going on here to support the wall, right? But this is interesting. I'm not really sure what this is, because this would indicate that this was part of an early wall, but that's just me. I'm just being blonde. Anyway, let's just move on. So that now this is the thing that I was indicating earlier on. This is Willowford East, the tower that we've just seen, right? And obviously that's the south side. This is the north side. And this shows it better than anything in this reconstruction. And what I'm talking about, the demilitarized zone on the south side, right? And obviously on the north side, there are sharp drops, but on the north side, it doesn't, even when there's open fields on the north side, there's nothing like this. And you're starting to think, well, hang on a minute, right? The north side should be more protected than the south side, and it isn't. The only thing to stop people from the north side, other than those sheer drops that Henry's just indicated, but it's not, there's open fields on long stretches of it, right? So the point is that when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it's really highly defended on the south side, right? And the question is why? Surely that should be on the north side, military thinking on the north side, right? And there is sort of a no man's land on stretches about 1 mile wide, right? And you're just thinking, what's going on? and it sort of this is really something to twist your mind, right? And don't come back at me and say, oh right, okay, the reason why all these defenses are here, which would have taken a long time to build, right, is to defend people walking along the wall. And I'm just thinking, no, the thing is, you have a double crenellation as you do with the Great Wall of China. You don't need a ditch on the north and the south side. That's it. So what is going on? Don't have to answer that, but I thought that was an interesting thing being shown here more than anything. I show these on maps and plans, and I say demilitarized zone south of the wall. You've got a wall. You've got several banks and ditches, right? But this shows it more than anything, and I just thought I wanted to stress that. So anyway, cracking on, and it's basically saying here that what we've got is this is a cross section of the way. Oh, I said the river. Irvon, didn't I? I meant Urding. Slight difference. But there it is. It's the river. So what we've got Bird Oswald, which we've been to, me and Bill, hand in hand. I've been to some of these turrets. And you're just basically saying that this is the high ground, this is the low ground where it drops. Willowford Bridge, yeah, the Willowford turret. We've actually looked at these before. We've looked at reconstruction. With the Willowford ones, we're actually in the, if you can remember, we looked at the Alan Sorrell reconstruction stuff. It was those two. So that was really interesting. Where there's a bridge and you got the turret. And when you've got this along here, you've got rising of land, dropping of land. Really good to see that elevation in regards to the river as well. And wonderful, Henry said that you traveled, what was it, 5 miles, and you saw this length of wall as you traveled. Is that correct?
That's correct. We also came, you had regular, there were about probably three watchtowers in that distance as well. Obviously others have disappeared, but
yeah,
there was clearly watchtowers appearing every 500 meters or so along it, and the wall was roughly the same height as this, over that period of distance. And there were some other buildings actually as you went along as well, which not sure what they could have been, but possibly they were various places where soldiers would have rested up.
Like maybe sort of lime kilns and sort of bread ovens.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, they were long rectangular buildings.
Yeah.
Probably looking at 20, 30 meters.
Yeah. And the one thing that I went off on last night was not the thing that I went off on, which I said something really controversial last night that but I haven't got there yet, so hopefully I won't do it. But the one thing that I'm looking at is can you remember a few weeks ago we looked at a bit of Hadrian's Wall, and I said in the 1800s somebody had bought that bit of the wall, and because the wall was quite a few meters high, they decided to reclad it with stone on the interior and the exterior of the wall. And I thought, what are we looking at? And this is the thing, when we're looking at Hadrian's Wall, how much of this has been reconstructed? We don't know, and that is the tragedy. And this ties us in with where we are in West Wales. Michelle said to me, she said we got a wall here, we got quite a number of walls, right? And she said, what about rebuilding that little bit of wall? And I said, well, we haven't dated that wall yet, whether it's Iron Age, whether it's medieval, we haven't dated it yet. And I basically thought, right, if you're going to rebuild the wall, we're going to put down a membrane down first, right? So future generations will know the bit of wall that we reconstructed, because none of the wall has been touched here in West Wales. We've got very old wall, and we got walls from different phases and stages, right? And I'm just thinking, I don't want to make the same mistakes of the past, because you do find some archaeological sites where you see that the walls have clearly been reconstructed because they're done in a different style, usually herringbone style. But unfortunately, when people come across herringbone reconstruction on walls, they always think it's Anglo-Saxon. Therefore, people then think that they're looking at an Anglo-Saxon building and not a medieval building. So this is the thing about reconstructing. We need to get it right. And this, I think this is basically a similar angle to the one previously. And obviously this base bit of the wall running all the way along is really, really interesting. I want to know about that. I really, really do. And when we talk about reconstruction, I think it's the next image I want to take par with this one, right? Now, this to me, right, looks reconstructed, right? It's these blocks at the bottom look original, but the stuff on the top just doesn't look right. It's almost as if these are not regular blocks. It's almost as if this can't be original. So again, somebody like me, I want to know that I'm looking at original Roman stuff, right? And again, if I ever won the lottery, it'd have to be a lot of money. There's a Roman fort in a place called Barrow, which is Lancaster way, which is south of Hadrian's Wall. And I haven't shown you images of it. I found it whilst I was doing my research into Roman walls. Not Barrow in Furness. Anyway, so it's another place called Barrow in Lancaster, and basically before Hadrian's Wall and before Cumbria, and basically what we've got a stretch of Roman wall right in the middle of a field, and we've got another stretch of wall going off at an angle. And I thought, wow, if I ever won a lot of money, I'd buy that little bit of building, right? Because it's basically a little miniature fort in a field, and the walls are still quite high. Nobody knows about it, right? Except if you look in books. And I just thought, right, what would I do with that? I'd get permission from English Heritage, and I would actually use perspex blocks to rebuild the corner bit of the wall, so people can still see the original Roman stuff and they can see the reconstruction. That's the way I would do it. Anyway, moving on, and more of this wall. So obviously it's getting lower and lower and lower. We can obviously see that not only is the core wall absent, the internal and the external of the wall is also lowering and lowering and lowering. And there's lots of discussions about this, and usually this is not challenged. This is never challenged. Usually they say that lots of Hadrian's Wall was still standing to quite a height up until the Jacobite rebellion. So to deal with any more rebellions in Scotland, they decided to put military roads into Scotland from the south, right? And the best stone available was actually Hadrian's Wall. I used to say that myself, but has that ever been tested? Because these blocks are very difficult to break up, and they would be very jagged when you smash one of these hefty blocks into pieces, right? Would this be the best building material for a military road going into Scotland? And also, when you've actually sort of demolished the bit of the wall to build the road, right, you've then got to come back to the wall to get more of it to build the rest of the road. Would it be more practical to get stone from a nearby locality? Anyway, nobody's ever challenged that, and I think more that Hadrian's Wall has been lost over a long period of time. But there's something else that's not been challenged about Hadrian's Wall, and I'm going to say it, which has just come to me. Maybe, just maybe, that Hadrian's Wall was actually being demolished in the Roman period, because it may have been thought that, as we've got archaeological evidence for, that Hadrian's Wall, what is the purpose of Hadrian's Wall? It's not really doing anything anymore. It never really was. Why was Hadrian's Wall built? And this is in a Roman period. And so the stone may have been already removed from Hadrian's Wall to sort of to be used at Carlisle and to be used at sites north and south of the wall. Just an idea. We always blame other peoples, and also there's descriptions of towers and gateways and all the rest of it still being in serviceable use up until the 1800s, right? And they weren't demolished by British loyal troops after the Jacobite rebellion, because they were still there. Right, Henry, I just couldn't work out what you said about this, so go on, Henry, tell us.
But it's not easy to tell, but basically I was standing on the few meters of wall looking down. So I'm looking down through a little fence there, but what you can see is the river at the bottom.
River Irthing, yeah. And
basically you've got an extremely steep drop. I mean, you would have a hell of a job trying to actually scale it. Now, currently, obviously, there's trees and everything, and that wouldn't have been there originally. So it would have been an exposed sheer drop. So to access it would have been, it was a very defensible position.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
And
also you've got to bear in mind that the wall would have been another, what, 4 to 6 meters higher.
yeah, 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 yeah. And again, it does make you wonder why all the stuff is going on behind the wall, if that's, you know, that's the case, which it is the case. So it just makes you question, what are they actually defending, if they're defending from the south as well.
Well,
anyway,
one thought on that was,
yeah,
is
go
it
for it,
more
please.
of a trade controlling point?
Yes, this is what I say. I say this all the time, right? I do say this all the time, that Hadrian's Wall is more akin to a customs post, because at times what we do see, because we've done this with the lectures, haven't we? We've looked at some Roman forts and we've said along Hadrian's Wall, and we said, right, hang on a minute, people have got to walk through the fort, right, to get to the other side. Right, and they've got to walk from the other side to the other side, and the barracks are on the either side. There's nothing stopping people just going into the barracks, and you're just thinking, well, if this is a defensible position, right, why are they just allowing people to walk back and forth? And it basically says more about trade customs post than anything else. And that being said, at times what we've got is the little mile castles that we've got. And between each of the mile castles, you've got these 2 turrets, which we've just been describing. So what these mile castles, they've got a gate, they've got a gateway into the little miniature fort, 2 barracks either side, and then you go out into the wilderness, right? And the mile castles, you look at them and you think, there are some examples in the archaeology that mile castles had been abandoned, right, by the mid 200s and into the 300s, when in fact Hadrian's Wall had about another 120 years worth of use. And you're thinking, well, if those have been abandoned, and we can clearly see that the gates have been taken off, because the gate hangs are not there, right, because they've been clearly taken off in the Roman period. If that's the case, right, then it can't be a defensible position, because you can imagine, I don't think the Picts were stupid, right? Maybe they were, but they weren't. But the Picts are going to think, well, hang on a minute, why do we need to attack this here? Why do you just go down the road and there's no gates, right? It doesn't make sense anymore. Hadrian's Wall never made sense to me, and maybe I'll get the answer one day. Right, so what we are going to do, we're going to look at the first bit of the next bit, right? And if that makes any sense, and in the break, those images that are going to skew on my database, I can put them in place for the next bit. So here we go. And looking at my phony wony for my other information. So you don't need to guess what we're doing next. Well, you might need to do so. The next bit is, and everyone loved this last night, is here we go. Iron Age animals in Britain, comparing with the Roman period. And then what was introduced, what changed, what animals were used, what do I know about the landscape, and so on and so on. So when I think this is the point that I said the controversial things last night, but it's not coming. So it's not simply a story that the Romans brought new animals. It's a story that the Roman era transformed the size, transformed the breeding, use and consumption of animals already living in Britain, right? So last week, I made the statement that the 2 things that the Romans did to Britain, right, was to reduce the power of women. So you couldn't have sort of Boudicca's or Cartamanduas anymore, right? Until you get to fairly modern years, when you've got the likes of Margaret Thatcher, and you've got modern politicians and modern female leaders of industry since the 1980s onwards, right? The Romans gave us that legacy. And before you say, oh, but what about Queen Victoria? Queen Victoria, mind my French, did bugger all for the rights of women. Queen Victoria did not support suffragettes. Queen Victoria did nothing for women, and Elizabeth did nothing for women either. So the fact of the matter is, in the Roman world itself, the Roman world was responsible for women not being able to aspire to the levels that they got to, say, in the 1980s. That's the second legacy of Rome. The third legacy of Rome is destroying our agricultural landscape of Britain to the state of where it is today. Lincolnshire has been a dust bowl, slowly but gradually since the Roman period, right, where hedges and trees and woodlands have been removed thanks to Roman agricultural practice, not the practice that existed before. And the other thing to say that I remembered last night really late, which I'm going to put in, when I was doing my Leicester university stuff, we had a course, and it basically looked at Roman agricultural farming in the Thames valleys up until AD 43. The agricultural practice in the Thames valleys was smaller animals, which we'll talk about now, smaller yields of crop, but enough to keep populations going, right, but more manageable. But when the Romans came in, they just ripped out the hedges, they ripped out the trees, and they totally altered the landscape to the disastrous landscape that we've got today. So this is why in West Wales, where I am, there is no hay for the winter months now. There is no straw for the winter months. There's not going to be enough food for people to sort of feed their animals. Farmers are already taking hundreds of sheep to the knacker's yard because they can't feed them, right? And that's all down to Roman agricultural practice. There we go. Right. Anyway, cracking on to the nice bit of the lecture, but that wasn't the controversial stuff. So what we've got a little chart coming up, but we'll keep this little image in front of us for now. So when we think about the late Iron Age, right, what we've got is small cattle. I've mentioned this in my own book, Romans in South Wales, and what I'll do is after the break, I will give you some page reference numbers for that, which I haven't got in front of me, but that'll be a nice guide for after the break. So I've got a couple of things to do, including feeding the sheep. So what we've got, cattle are smaller, stockier, right? These may look big, but the stuff that the Romans are bringing in are much bigger, right? So smaller, stockier, small native cattle. So what we've then got is Roman Britain. The Romans, as I say, are introducing these much larger animals, and what we do, we find much more in regards of cattle bones on archaeological sites in the Roman period. We do see lots of cattle bones throughout prehistory in Britain, but a lot more in the Roman period, a lot more cattle bones. I will stress that. So the Roman change is improved breeding, changing the landscape to where it is today, improving stock, supposedly a much greater emphasis on beef and using cattle and oxen for traction. But personally, knowing the countryside and being involved in consistent farming for over 5.5 years now, I've learned a great deal. And something that I have learned is that I really wish we'd have planted many more trees in West Wales, because we have now got barren, empty. We've got several acres of land here that are actually dead. That is absolutely dead. You walk across them and you slip on nothing, right? And I've never seen that before. But that all comes down to a period when fields were being cleared, right? And I wish I'd planted trees across that, because if I had 5 years ago, our sheep would now be grazing amongst the trees. We wouldn't have a problem, right? So what we are going to be doing, we're going to be planting a lot more trees. Anyway, cracking on. Let's talk a little bit more about the sheepsies, the little sheepsies, and basically not anything in that image, but we'll go to the little sheepsies there. So sheep are the more important animal in Iron Age Britain, where you're looking at it's important for meat, it's important for wool, and it's important for other products. The Romans don't really change us a great deal after AD 43, but there's some larger populations, and there's more diversity in husbandry, and there's much larger sheep. And just to give you an idea, right, it's not very difficult to get bigger sheep. You just need one ram and a load of ewes, right? If the ewes are smaller, right, most of their offspring will be much larger, right? Except where we've got with our breed in West Wales, we had bigger Shetland sheep, right? And we've bred our Borere ram with the Shetland sheep, and we've got smaller sheep, right? It's dependent upon the ram. If you've got a big stocky ram with massive bollocks, right? And I'm just saying as it is, right? You're going to have big sheep. If you're going to have a smaller ram who's stocky, his testicles are not as big, you're going to have smaller sheep. The Romans saw to this. Our breeds were shorter, and what they did was simply introduce bigger rams from the continent. End of, job done. One of the other things one of the things that really got people talking last night and questioning this reconstruction, which we'll go on to in a short while, right? But before we question this reconstruction, and we will sort of have a break in about 5 minutes, pigs, right? Pigs. Pigs are present in Iron Age Britain, really are, but they're more or less all of these animals that we're talking about in Iron Age Britain, cattle, sheep and pigs, are more countryside animals. Iron Age Britain is more of a countryside landscape. It's not like we do have Caliva atrabatum, we do have the developing Verulamium, we do have the developing Gyropolis in Dorset, right? But in the main, we've got smaller settlements, and pigs are perfect for that because pigs can graze in the woodland. They're not going to interfere in your small little fields, right? Pigs are going to be happy to graze, right? But what happens in the Roman period, we find lots more bones of pigs in towns and cities, because a pig is a town and a city animal, right? You can keep a pig in a pen in the garden, right? And I'm told, for example, that when we're getting the valleys, for example, we're getting lots of Irish navvies coming in. We're getting people like my family coming over from Somerset, right? Pigs are kept in small terraces in gardens in the valleys, right? Except when cholera started breaking out in the valleys, they started to trace this back to the unhygienic conditions of having a pig in a garden, right? This all goes back to the Roman period when pigs are now being kept in towns and cities. So pork consumption increased considerably in the Roman world in Britain, right? We're going to go on to pigs. And I'm going to tell you what a pig is like. Pigs are absolute nightmare, right? We've got pigs, sheep, goats. Start again. Our goats are an absolute nightmare. Sorry, our goats are an absolute nightmare because we've got 2 goats, and those 2 goats could do more damage than the 29 sheep that we've got. If those 2 goats in a field would clear up the hedge, they would escape, but the sheep would quite happily keep grazing, leave the hedge alone. But goats are something really interesting. So when people put lists together, right, and they say, goats are really useful for settlements like this, they're absolutely talking crap, right? They might find the remains of goat bones on these settlements, right? But having low roof lines like this would mean that a goat would be quickly up on that roof and you wouldn't have a roof, right? Goats are very destructive. The only way to keep goats in a small settlement like that is to keep them tethered at all times, right? And you can't really keep them in towns and cities. And in the archaeology, there's less evidence of goats being kept than any of the other animals that we've mentioned. So horses, for example, there are already horses present in Britain, like goats. They're all these things that we've mentioned. There are all these animals that mentioned, horses. But what the Romans are doing, they're introducing a new type, new breeds of horse, right? Unlike the stocky horses that used to exist in Britain in the Iron Age, which could be used as draft animals, sometimes ridden, right? The Romans introduced taller equines that could be ridden, right? So you've got taller horses that are used for military transportation and so on. So the Romans are introducing new types of horse into Britain, right? That hadn't been seen before. And we won't, what we're going to do, right? We'll have a break after this, I think. So dogs themselves present in many forms. in Britain, right? We like all of these. There's evidence of cattle, sheep, pigs. Me not sure about the horses, but we've had these domesticated in Britain for thousands and thousands of years. Dogs, for example, we've got archaeological evidence from Hoyk up in Northumberland of dogs being domesticated as far back as 10,000 years ago, right? So what's happening is the Romans are bucking the trend where you've got the horse, the pig, the sheep, and the cattle, right, being much bigger, right? The Romans actually introduced small dogs. So on archaeological excavations, we're finding the bones of small dogs in Roman era Britain, as much as we've got mastiffs as well. But we've got a really weird range of dogs in Britain after the Roman period, right? So what we're going to do, I'm going to when we after the break, we're going to look at this chart, right? We're going to go through this chart, and we're going to look at interesting things on this chart. And the interesting things on this chart are, in fact, for example, the rabbit and the black rat. The black rat is really, really interesting. Did you know that you might find this slightly different today, but the black rat population is almost extinct in Britain. There's only about 2 or 3 populations of black rats in Britain. They were dragged to extinction because they were blamed for outbreaks of the plague, when in fact we're now starting to turn out that it wasn't really the rat that did all the damage. But anyway, right, so let's take a break, and I'm gonna feed the sheepies. And oh yeah, I've got to get that sorted out, haven't I? I've got to get those images in order on the screen. So let's stop that. And Anne can now say whatever she likes. Oh, what have I just said, Bill?
She's gone.
Right, Bill, whatever you do, Bill, right? You say anything, right? I'm going to slap you, right? Anne.
I did go to St. Bride's Major Church, and I know why I've never been there, because it's a bit out of the way. It's actually on a hill, and
hang on a minute, you're not talking about the St. Bride's Major in the village, are you?
Yes.
It's just off the main road.
It's just off the main road.
But I never knew where it was. So I went, and we had the lady vicar. She gave us a little tour, and there are some effigies in there.
Yes, there are.
Bassett, and but Butler. That's right. John Butler.
Yeah.
And Jane Bassett.
And the 3 golden cups.
And I don't know about those, but there was also a lovely brass rubbing of a knight.
You can rub me any day, Anne.
And it's really worth a little visit, because there's and it's open. It is actually open from about 9:30 to 3:00 in the afternoon, but it wouldn't be not very accessible for Richard. But
we'd carry Richard in. There's nothing wrong with that. We'd carry him in there.
You'd have to. It would be difficult because there's steps, unless there's another entrance. But what we're going to do, this is Barry History Group now. We're just going to go to a lot of churches that I have been to before, but I don't mind going.
I'm sure Bill and Goff will join you one day on these walks, and Henry will, and Richard.
Yeah, it's easy going. It didn't cost anything, and it's just a meetup. But and that's Gavin Henson's pub. The Fox and Hounds, but he wasn't there.
No, I didn't think he would be, Anne. Not with you there. They yeah. Anyway, I really appreciate you telling us that, and I got sort of practice my smoking again. So there we go. Right, Richard, do you want to drag? Richard, anything you want to say?
No, interesting subject.
Way!
Interesting subjects, should I say?
Yeah, good. Goff,
the walls and everything is interesting. Different styles, why they.
good. 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 Oh, right. Okay then. Right. I'm losing it now. Bill, I need a break. Anything, Bill?
Hadrian's Wall. Bit of
Go on,
mystery.
Bill. Oh, go on.
Was it just a massive status symbol to please Hadrian? And why did his successor Antoninus build his earth wall about 30 miles north? For what
And it was
reason?
made of earth.
Earth, yeah, and just a rampart. Why? You don't know.
It makes
What
no
about
sense.
Offa's Dyke?
Why? Yeah.
It makes no sense.
What about Offa's Dyke?
Hang on, that's from another period.
Hang on. Stay north, Anne. Stay north.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good. That's good.
It's mind-boggling why they do these things.
That's true. That's true. That's
They
true.
like building. They like building walls. It was like an exercise, really. I think.
Absolutely, they did. Yeah.
You can imagine, guys.
They
Guys,
send
just build a wall.
They send the army out to beat fires down now.
Yeah.
Well, they don't send them to build walls, do they?
I don't know. No.
Well, hang on. That's what the army should be doing. They should be out there stringing arsonists up from trees, right? Shooting at them and then putting fires out.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you about the fate of an arsonist in West Wales, but yeah, that didn't get to the
But
police.
yeah, I mean, it is an interesting question, but I don't think it's a very difficult solution. You know,
Bill's come up with it. He don't know. Right. Okay. Right. Goff, anything you want to say, love?
Oh, what can I say? No.
I don't know. I don't know. You could say what Bill Richard said.
All of that. I have nothing to say.
All right. And Henry, right? Before I fondle my sheep, right? Anything you want to say?
Did Anne find the tunnel from the church to Gavin Henson's pub?
Well, that's another one, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's another one. Just
I can strangle you. I really am.
Just an observation. That being north of the border, even today, their cattle are short and stocky.
Yeah. You're right. You are very right. And for example, my Borroway sheep are very, very small compared with the normal breed. You know, you can carry one of my Borroways under your arm. That's how small they are. And the fleeces are really good. But obviously, what the Romans were looking at is what they can get out meat wise, you know, and obviously this is why the Romans are introducing much bigger animals. And obviously the horse is a really good example, but we're talking about the cattle. So this is, and then we're talking about smaller breeds slowly start to go extinct. So, and they would have. Right. So guys, what we're going to do, it's 8:12 and we'll be back roughly about 8:22. Anne, you got 10 minutes to put the kettle on, shout at a few people and then come back.
All right.
Let's
All
go.
right.
Let's go. Yeah.
Tiddly 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 tiddly. Girls of Rome. Right, so yeah. Oh, did you?
Goff.
Ooh. Well, well, well.
Who's that?
Hello, Anne. How are you?
Hello. Are you going to go to any of the talks in my stake?
Yes, I booked 5 already.
Oh, how much
Yeah.
is it?
Some are free, some are £5.
Oh, you're going to go to see the girls, the ladies?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I see them I watch them all the time on the TV because I'm in all the time, you know.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a good selection of talks
yeah.
and walks. I'm taking a walk up onto
I was
Martin
going to do a
Mountain as
walk as
well as
well.
part of the
Yeah.
walk program.
Yeah. It's all gone a bit pear-shaped now.
Mhm.
Well, we did you go to see any Bill? Did you go to see any you
Any
haven't
what?
see any monuments yet, scheduled monuments yet?
Where?
Well, in your valley.
Oh, I've been to most of them. Yeah.
Oh, I know, but you've got to go and look and see if they got any damage done to them.
Yeah, well, it's not so much damage as erosion, you know. And of course, many of these are
Yeah,
inaccessible places. You know, you've got a long trek up mountains to get to them.
yeah, they are quite. That's what I was thinking, you know.
Yeah, that's the way it is, I'm afraid, Anne. That's the way it is.
Um,
But when I'm there next, which should be on October the 12th, I'll take a few photographs of the Bodwork Stone and the Tumpath Dewliff and the Bulwaka and fill in some forms, I suppose, whatever they do. Yeah.
there's some down in you know, you anyway. Is that ever made in that causewayed enclosure up at Holy Mynydd, or I think it's Mynydd something, the back of Ogmore? Was that ever scheduled, or was it? You
Which
know,
one? Which one are you talking about,
he
Anne?
said there was well, Carl took us up there once, and he said they thought it might have been a causewayed enclosure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I suppose it wouldn't be a scheduled monument because there's nothing there, I don't suppose. Just
I'm not
earth
sure, actually.
mounds.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's
I know where it is, though. I keep talking about it, thinking, well, we should go and see the causewayed enclosure.
Mhm.
And nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Well, we've been, as you said, in some odd places with Carl, haven't we, over the years?
Yeah. I
Strange
mean, there was
places.
quite a lot around Iweni, you know, Ogmore and up on
Yeah.
the hill there. And that's why I say I never really been to St.
Mhm.
Bride's Major.
Mm.
Only
Mm.
been to the, you know, the pub, the big one by the pond. You know,
Used to be the Farmer's Arms.
yeah.
It's now, I think, a Turkish restaurant.
Oh,
I went on a date with this woman with massive handles there. It was interesting.
well, it's not very interesting.
Mm.
Um, he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't talk like this if I wasn't you, would he? If there wasn't a woman present, he wouldn't.
Oh, we're men. We talk about all these different types of things.
I wonder what you do
Yeah.
talk about when I'm
And
not.
the thing is, Goff is a man of the world, and he just tells us about all his exploits. You know, because he
Oh,
was.
so he can't tell you now. That's why he's feeling a bit glum.
Goff. Yeah, the thing is, Goff usually tells about all his exploits with all the women he used to meet with in all the ports around the world.
Oh, yeah.
See, Goff was Royal Navy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Yeah, say no more. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
No, he wasn't Royal Navy, was he? He was
Merchant.
he was merchant. Can you remember that that guy John? He was definitely Royal Navy. Oh my God.
John?
Do you remember John in the other group?
No.
No, anyway.
I wasn't in the other group.
Well, no, it was John. He was dodgy. Right. One thing I haven't mentioned. One thing I haven't mentioned is, guys, it's that time of the month again that I know. I was going to mention last week, but last week's the last week of the month. So the class fees are now due for September and October. So I thought I'd mention that the £50 class fees are now due for September and October, and I thought I'd mention it now. Right. So what we're going to do, we've got these other images.
I think you'll get mine on the 21st. I think. Oh,
it's only the 19th.
And you're wonderful. Yeah, but hang on a minute, Goff. I worked out that I sat down and I thought, right, if I mention it next week, right, which is the last week of the year, because I usually mention it about 2 weeks before, right? So the following week, we're actually into September, which is quite frightening, to be honest with you. Which is frightening. And anyway, guys, don't mention it. It's fine. It's all for the good of the country, right? So we
got then.
What's that? What's that? What's that, Rich? Do you want to drag?
What? Next week is September.
No, no. The week after that is September.
Oh, I thought you were going by the West Wales calendar.
Oh yeah. We are. Next week is September. Yeah, that's right. Shut up. Right. Okay then. We're gonna crack on. So we're gonna hopefully look at some native mummies. Right. So are we looking at the cows still?
We are.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in my book, Romans in South Wales, page 63, I do talk about animal husbandry, if any of you are interested afterwards. And I also talk about markets, and I go into detail about things like generally Roman sheep were tolerant and hardy, but were sensitive to temperature and severe weather conditions. I mention that in my book. And on page 64, we talk about pigs preferring established woodland. They would have already existed before the Roman period, but lots of woodland is being removed in the Roman period. And obviously I talk about the Brecon Beacons as well. There's still some woodland there. I talk about Gower, not the Gower Goff. And I mentioned all those other things, right? Yeah, I had this conversation with Goff, right? And I got it the wrong way round. I thought it was the Gower. It's not, it's Gower. There's no there in the Gower. So in the entire book, right, every time it's got Gower, it says the Gower, right? Thank you for that. But anyway, let's crack on. So let's go to my notes. It's Goff's fault. Right, so let's get my phone here. Let's get my little phone. And we'll be finished. Right, you guys, it'll got to be finished at 9. Right, so here we go. Let's get onto that chart. Let's get onto the chart. Right, okay, we're onto the chart. So let's speed up. Let's really speed up. So one of the things, really interesting things on here is when we look at, say, for example, red deer, native. It's going to be hunted, venison continued. It's something that we find on Iron Age and Roman archaeological sites. Interestingly, here as well is that we've got we look at the likes of red and roe deer as well. They're going to be when we look at roe deer, they're going to be continued to be hunted. Equal in the Iron Age Roman archaeological record. Wild boar as differentiated from pigs. Now we're thinking that the Romans themselves were very much into hunting wild boar, as people had been in the Iron Age, and it's likely that the wild boar in the Roman period is at the edge of extinction. because there's less woodland, more woodlands being cut down in the Roman period than had been before. The wild boar was probably a stable population in the Iron Age, but by the time we get into the Roman era, wild boar is going to be hunted in, as I say, close to extinction. Now, one thing on the list, if we go directly to rabbits after this, are hares. Hares is a native species. Now, out of all of this list, right, out of cattle all the way down to wild boar, the hare is the animal that can be eaten, that's very much venerated in the Iron Age, very much venerated in the Roman era. So it's not much per se in the sense of a food. It's a venerated animal, as opposed to the rabbit. Now, this is going to be debated forever, right? Some people believe that the rabbit was introduced before the Roman era. Lots of historians and archaeologists believe the rabbit is actually being introduced in the Roman.
You've gone, you've frozen.
You've gone away.
Oh,
You're no longer with us.
It says not widespread, but I'll probably disagree with that. So the rabbit is actually making its reach felt in the Roman era. And you've got fallow deer as well. That's an introduction by the Romans. Fallow deer, it's a much bigger deer, and it's going to be very much which is going to be now common in the landscape by roughly coming up to about AD 100. The black rat, I was reading a little bit more about the black rat, and that's an interesting one on this chart, because the black rat appears in the Roman period, right? It's not as nasty as our grey and the sewer rats that we get around our landscape today. Do believe it's a smaller rat, but it's interesting that the rat may actually be seen as a food source in the Roman period. And that is absent in the Iron Age. Was it deliberately introduced? Does it come in through trade? Does it come in through shipping? Does it come in through some kind of a pet? Or does it come in through via a food? That's a really interesting thing. So overall, on this chart, let's just throw this chart away. So Iron Age Britain, native livestock economy. Most of the animals are already here, but they're made bigger and better in the Roman period. And the one thing on this list that we haven't covered at all, I bypassed it, which I should have done, right? Chickens. That's a really interesting one. Now, when you think about the common or garden chicken, one second, I've got two little chicks here myself, which I've got to put together. There we go. Chickens are really interesting because, again, that's another thing that people are, some historians argue that, there's not really much evidence of chickens in Britain before the Roman period, which is absolutely completely wrong, right? There are chicken bones that we do find in the Iron Age. Are they as widespread in the Iron Age as this chart says that maybe they're not, right? And I'll explain that in a moment. In the Roman period, they're a lot more widespread. They're to be found in more Roman towns and cities. Let me explain a little bit more about chickens, right? We keep lots of chickens, right? And whereas when our chickens die, right, we just put them out. We just put them on posts and so on for the crows and the birds of prey to take away. And any chicken carcasses that we got, we put out for our native populations of badgers and foxes. So that's what we do. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is that chicken bones really don't survive very well in the archaeological record. They're very soft. I have found chicken bones in lots of my archaeological excavations, but if you compare them with any of the other bones, there's not many, right? Chicken bones are the first things to go in the archaeological record. They're eaten up by pigs. They're eaten up by dogs. Chicken bones are just digestible and taken away. So that's probably why we don't find much in the Iron Age record. And I probably think that chickens were a lot more populous in the Iron Age than this chart actually makes out. Can I just mention one thing about pigs, right? There's another reason why pigs are actually kept in towns and cities. And Anne's going to love this one. Pigs digest human fecal matter. in human fecal matter, there's lots of vegetables that haven't been digested. There's lots of fruit that hasn't been digested, and it's well known that in lots of human fecal feces, there's lots of meat that hasn't been digested, and pigs absolutely love that. This is why they say if you're going to murder anybody, you need to keep a pig, because the pig will digest everything, right? And that is actually a fact. And you can imagine when you've got in the South Wales valleys, in Merthyr Tydfil or Pontypridd, and you've got a pig in the garden and they're digesting all your waste in the garden, you can imagine that's why we've got outbreaks of cholera and various other things like that. So when we sort of say, you know, the Romans introduced chickens to Britain, you've got to challenge things like that. The Romans introduced rabbits to Britain. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but maybe there was a few here beforehand. One thing about the chicken as well is that they are a prestigious Roman food, right? Romans absolutely loved small animals to eat, even the dormouse, quails, all these types of things. And when we talk about the likes of chicken, right, we see it in a populous archaeological record in the urban area. Everyone would have kept chickens back then. So,
Karl, can I ask you a question?
Quickly, yeah, please do.
Wolves. When were wolves introduced?
Wolves were already here, love.
They were. They're not on the list now.
The wolves are not on the wolves are not on the list because they're a native British species. Like a badger's not on the list, like a bear's not on the list, right? Wolves are already here, Bill, right? But you're talking about food. All meat would have been consumed, right? But we're not really seeing wolf bones in the archaeological record. We are seeing one or two fox bones in the archaeological record in the Iron Age and the Roman period. I know that for a fact. The problem is with the wolf bones, Bill, is that they're easily confused, for example, with dog bones, right? So it's sometimes very difficult in old archaeological records to work out the difference between a wolf and a normal large domestic dog, right? And then, so you've taken me down a little tangent, Bill. The tangent is that when we think about, for example, the common or garden cat, right? That could be mistaken for, say, a lynx. That could be mistaken for a wildcat, right? And that's obviously not food. But actually, Bill, when you're talking about dogs on here, dog is not on that food list, but it's on the list. All the other things can be eaten, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that, Bill. It's when we go again looking at the archaeological record, I'm going to be very, very wary of time now. That within archaeology, for example, Heybridge in Essex, for example, measurements on the archaeological site, Roman archaeological site at Heybridge, measurements show livestock becoming larger during the Roman period. Cattle increased particularly early after the conquest. So obviously you only need one or two bulls, one or two rams, and everything changes within a short period. One of you mentioned this. I think it was Henry. Henry mentioned this about when you start to get further north, there's lots of smaller animals. The animals are actually a smaller stock. This is because it took a long while for these heavier, larger stock to get to Scotland, right? And when we're talking about the short-horn cattle, it's something that would have remained a lot longer in Scotland, and obviously parts of Scotland, the short-horned cattle would not have become extinct. And the other thing as well is in Scotland, breeds like the black dun-faced sheep, which is where my Borroray sheep are sort of descended from. My Borrorays are descended 6,000 years, but the dun-faced sheep go back a long way. They have become extinct in Britain, right? But my Borrorays haven't. Just bones like this. I'm looking at these and I'm thinking that you've got cattle on the right and the left, and I'm curious about the one in the middle that looks like a big pig bone. But the point is that when they were excavating places like Dorset, in Dorchester, they've excavated in the Roman town at Dorchester 40,000 animal bone fragments, and substantially these 40,000 animal bone fragments predominantly cattle bones actually found in regards to the Dorset Roman town, Roman city there, right? These are actually chicken bones. So when we think about this, so basically when we look at this, and I'm really wary of time now, so I'm gonna have to speed up a little bit because there's another bit to this I want to do. So if you want to do a little bit of a comparison, sort of chicken bones there, thinking about the Roman world. So let's just do a little bit of a comparison. The Iron Age Britain, small scale mixed livestock, cattle and sheep were dominant, and then you've got pigs, horse, dogs, dogs for hunting, native wild animals. So maybe trying to tackle some one or two wolves, but obviously if you get a pack of dogs and you come across a pack of wolves, then the wolves are going to win every time. So chickens, that's the thing. In my notes it says chickens are rare exotic. I would disagree with that. I would say that chickens are more populous than the archaeological record tells us, and I've told you the reason why that is. And you can imagine, again, when you look at big thick bones like this, flimsy little bones like chicken bones, right? And the other problem with chicken bones, that it's really easy when you go down chicken bones. You've got to think about geese. You've got to think about duck. We haven't mentioned geese or duck. You've got to mention bigger sort of birds like the swan, because it's a native British species. Yeah, this is where you get mixtures in archaeology, and this is where the archaeology gets a bit confusing. I would say that duck bones, and my experience, are actually softer than chicken bones, so they would disappear from the archaeological record quicker. Anyway, Roman Britain, this is the thing. So this sort of conclusion, Roman Britain, there we go. Hunting in the Roman world, an anthology, animal bones and ancient literature. There's loads of it out there, but let's use this as a standby. I think this is a one of the paintings from Pompeii. I'm not sure. Roman Britain, same basic livestock plus new species. That's what we're talking about. The Romans are changing the landscape. And the one thing that the Romans are doing, the Thames Valley archaeology, where we've got large open fields, large agriculture introduced by the Roman period. We're seeing large agriculture introduced by the Roman period in places like East Anglia, where the landscape is poldered, where it's reclaimed, and then between all that, they got canals. So increased cattle and beef production, and we see more specialized butchery, right? Greater pork, chicken in regards to larger settlements, and lots of archaeological evidence in regards to exotic animals moving across the empire. So when we talk quickly, sort of, we'll come to the end of this a bit, and we'll go to the other bit before we try and grasp the last bit about Colchester at the end. The Romans introduced fallow deer, rabbit, again, the rabbit thing there, black rat. All of these are really interesting sort of looks at new things coming into the archaeological record thanks to the Romans. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to the last little bit, right? And this is what fascinated people. One thing that people said last night is that that they go to lectures, they listen to Alice Roberts. This is what they said. They listen to Bethany Hughes, they listen to Mary Beard, they listen to me, right? And they listen to others, right? And we never mention animals, right? In the archaeology, we're always interested in burials and that. We very rarely, and that's true. I've got to change that. I've told you that many times before. There would be a change. We've got to change now, right? But oh God, this is what I wanted to do next. But there was something, right? There was a bit of news. I'm just going to quickly do this. Where's my news on this one? A bit of a tiswas now. So if I can get this news up here quick on my device. Right. Okay, that's no good. Scotland, Sutherland. This is correct. You are talking about the Sutherland find, which you have missed. Which none of you sent me anything about this. Oh,
no, young lady.
Yeah, all right then. I don't need my notes, right? This was reported a few days ago in Sutherland. The archaeologists initially thought this was a modern burial because when you look at it, it looks very modern. It really does. So I can remember from the article, it's 1 meter deep, right? It's in regards to a quarry area in Sutherland in Scotland, not Sunderland, Sutherland in Scotland. And interesting enough, this is fascinating If I can remember the scale, help me with the scale. It's over, did they say, oh God, scale. You've probably got it in front of you, 2 meters wide, it's 1 meter deep, is it?
Yeah, 1 meter deep. I think it's about 2.5 meters wide. Long.
Yeah, 2.5
Long.
meters long by about 1.5 meters wide,
Yeah.
something like that. Anyway, before we bit of a rush, so let's crack on. But anyway, thank you for that. There's only one burial in here, and it's an Iron Age burial. So we're talking about 2,000 years ago. And interesting enough, I said last night that all this black sooty stuff in here is really, really interesting because it's actually sticking to the high vis. And I'm thinking, what is that? Nobody mentioned that. There's no artifacts being found with this woman. And they worked out it was a woman. And you know, I was just thinking, okay, it would be really good to work at. So what they're going to do is a really new find this. So we're going to hopefully get the DNA. And one of the things that somebody took me to task with last night, and there's little steps there as well. There's steps leading down. They identified the steps on the right hand side there. I actually thought that this stonework, they said, oh, this stonework looks really well dressed. And I said, well, why not? And they said, yeah, but it looks really too well dressed. And then I explained in places like the Sutherland and Caithness and Orkney in particular, they get shelves of stone. Bill and I have seen this quite a few times. You've got shelves of stone, and these lids of stone would be lifted up, and they would fracture easy. And those fracture points would be the ideal facing for this stone. And this is a great find, and hopefully we'll be able to learn a little bit more about this find from Sutherland in Scotland. Now, this
Not
was
if I'm right, but I read somewhere that it's a
Go
hot
for it.
tub,
yeah.
a bath of some
Oh,
sort.
you fucking didn't, did you?
Where's
Did you?
fruit?
You can't use that language.
I just did. Did you read? Are you winding me up? Did you actually see that? Somebody thought it was originally a hot tub.
Yeah.
I haven't got words, but mind you, if we want to look away, me and Bill have seen hot tubs and things in Orkney, so we can't dismiss this. We really can't. But in sort of the Bronze Age, Iron Age, but
Because you got steps into it.
yeah, okay, labouring the point. It's too big for a burial, right? It really is. It's almost as if she's been. Actually, when you think about it, right, when you look about the archaeology, oh my God, we shouldn't be doing it.
Put that on. Put the fruit and veg on.
Hang on, we've got to finish this. When you've got this, it's been cut into, right, and it's been cut into another surface, right? So if this is a hot tub, there you go. Bill, I'm answering you. Vegetables.
Thank you. What have we got then? We got cabbages in the Iron
Yes,
Age, yes.
we've got cabbages.
Carrots.
So,
No.
let's get on with this last but one bit of the presentation today, and then we got a conclusion on the two things. So there we go. So let's me do this chart now, and this one's a little bit more free flowing. So one of the things when we're looking at that list is if we look at the list on the far side there, the Roman impact. So cabbage, kale. Now I want to just chuck in my bit. If you've got smaller fields, right, you can have mixed farming, cabbage, leeks, onion, peas, turnips, all in regards to sort of pre-Iron Age Britain. Don't look at the list on the bottom, fruit, because there's some mistakes on that, right? And we'll go to that in a minute. But when you're thinking about the archaeological record, how do you know in the archaeological record that they had cabbage in the Iron Age? It's seeds. We're finding evidence of seeds. We're finding evidence of all of these things create seeds, right? So you see these seeds in the archaeological record, right? When they go off, right, you see seeds coming off them. So that's basically it. So cabbage, kale, these are all in smaller fields, but in the Roman period, much larger fields, right? So when we go to the carrots and the beetroots, for example, these introduced by the Romans by the AD 100s. Interesting carrots and beetroots. Obviously, we're finding in particular in West Wales where we are, that when we're mixing carrots, beetroot with cabbage and kale, it doesn't really work. So you need sort of maybe more appropriate fielding, more appropriate drainage. And this is what we're talking about in regards to the Romans. Obviously, you know, beetroot. Oh, there's one story about beetroot. Michelle planted beetroot one day, right? And I didn't know it was beetroot. And I thought those leaves were nice. So I started cutting the leaves off and putting in sandwiches. and said if you dug a little bit more, you'd find the beetroot, right? So yeah, it's true. Beetroot leaves and roots. We don't usually eat the leaves with beetroot, but you can, right? Leek, that's a good one. We're talking about native varieties, leeks, smaller leeks, and sort of gathered, limited cultivation. Thinking about them in the wild with wild onions as well. All of that. But what the Romans are doing, they're bringing in more cultivated versions of leeks and onions. And something in the back of my mind tells me that more cultivated versions of leeks are from sort of central Germany and that type of thing. Don't really quote me on that. I'm sure Goff would be able to help us a little bit more on that one. But more leeks and onions, more widespread, and obviously improved storage is going to be a good thing. Drier areas, when in fact, when you get into the winter, please come winter now, please. When you get to the winter, when there's lots of rain, right, and you don't have internal storage, things are going to get damp and onions are going to go off quick. But in regards to the Roman period, you've got more urban areas, more towns and stuff, more ability to keep things dry over the winter months. Now, this interesting thing, one thing that we do have growing at this minute is peas and beans. Our peas and beans are the only thing that is growing, right, at this minute. But that's going to be something really massive in the Roman period. Cucumbers introduced by the Romans. We're getting that in regards to villas, towns, small gardens. Cucumbers grow well, as you know, guys, right? Radishes grow well. And by the way, guys, another thing that's been growing really well here this year is radishes. If anyone wants radishes next year, we're going to be planting a whole patch of radishes. They've been done really well here. So turnips as well. They're going to be thinking about baldric turnips. Small amounts that can be grown mixed. Larger fields in regards to the Roman period. Now, all that seed evidence, written descriptions by the Romans as well. There you go, about their world. This is interesting. Can we just like do the things that are wrong on the chart? Grapes are already being grown in Britain way into prehistory. We got evidence of grapes being grown, so that is incorrect. But I think maybe if I could look at the grapes and think the Romans are actually introducing more sweeter varieties of grapes. So I think that's the correction on the chart. Now, the other mistake on the chart is that we've got wild cherries in Britain, right? We grow wild cherries here. So cherries are not necessarily introduced by the Romans, but probably sweeter varieties introduced by the Romans. In regards to damsons, yes, we get wild damsons in here. We've got British examples of damsons. But I think in regards, again, damsons, the plum itself,
You got sloes.
Shut up about sloes. We
Which
won't do the whole list.
Roman.
We won't do the whole list. But the one thing is that as with all of these cherries, grapes, plum, they larger varieties, more sweeter varieties. I think that's what the list says. Obviously, oh God, this will interest you. Michelle got sloes and put them in a load of gin, right? So sloe gin, right? But basically, I kept the berries. We drained the gin off, right? And I kept the berries, and I occasionally wander along chewing them.
Not a good idea.
It is a good idea, actually, really, because usually you chuck them out, didn't you? But what it is on a really serious level, the sloes absorb the gin, and it takes away the bitterness. You can actually use them as little sweets, and you obviously.
There's loads of sloes over the field now.
And there's none in West Wales because everything's dead. So if you could collect a load from me, that would be brilliant. Michelle will love you forever.
Yeah.
Well, I actually say that I've picked them, and then Michelle will love me forever. But you get the credit. And interesting enough, walnuts. I don't know if you've ever been.
One tree.
Well, get them all for me. But and we'll have to meet up then, and wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. But walnut trees are really interesting because I don't know if any of you have been to Killeen. There's like a little lot of market area in Killeen. As you go in over the bridge and you're going on the left, there's a market area. There's a massive walnut tree there, right? Huge walnut tree. It's massive, and you just get the feeling that walnut trees is something that the Romans did well to introduce. And in regards to sort of peaches as well, that's something else. I know we could go through the list of other things, but one thing I would say, right, there's in absence of evidence, right, we could actually see there's other fruits and vegetables available. For example, if we're excavating an archaeological record, we can actually see that if we get remains of certain insects, right, and we link those insects that might link to some other fruits and vegetables, we might not find the evidence of the vegetables and fruits, but we might be able to link the insects to those fruits and vegetables that may have been around, for example, in the Iron Age and the Roman period. Now, guys, I know you all want to finish at 9 o'clock, but if you can give me a few more minutes, right? Because I want to do a little bit of a conclusion on this, and we'll just mention Colchester quickly, right? My conclusion on this is as follows. So the Roman conquest of Britain in AD 43 brought major changes to everyday life. And one of the most interesting can be seen through food and farming. It's not just about humans. It's not about what we build. It's about food and fruit farming. Vegetables, archaeological evidence from animal bones, seeds, fruit stones, and other plant remains allow us to compare what people were eating and producing during the Iron Age, comparing that with the Roman period. We should do more of this. We should do more. Before the conquest, Britain already had the cattle, sheep, pigs, horses, goats, and dogs. But what's happening is there's these new introductions. There is also the Romans are exploiting the landscape, exploiting the breeds. Larger cattle appear at a number of Roman sites, while the growth of towns, forts, and villas created a much greater organized demand for meat and a much larger market. When you think about it, small settlements, you know, they keep what they can keep, right? That's what we're talking about, the Iron Age. There's not many towns, you know, there's not many Caliver Atrabatums in pre-Roman Britain, right? But in the Roman period, you got much more of a market, right? A much bigger understanding of using the land. So obviously, when we talk about the genuine introductions like the fallow deer and the rabbits, you can think that these add an extra taste to the table. And when we talk about the chickens, I think the chicken evidence is really, really interesting, really, really unusual in when we're looking at all of this. So when again we look into the Roman period, there are new introductions. There really, really are. So with those new introductions, look at the tablet there, look at the table, you know, like the carrots being introduced, like the beetroot being introduced, like the cucumber. There's more on the table from the Mediterranean, from Europe, from North Africa. So dramatically increased the variety of foods reaching Britain. Archaeological evidence from Roman sites, obviously the greater use of grapes, and obviously we're importing lots of wine and so on, and we're thinking about walnuts, cherries, and the plums. So we should therefore be careful about simply saying that the Romans introduced everything. In many cases, they did not. Their greatest impact was the combination of new species, new varieties, improved cultivation, selective breeding, and long-distance trade. By the later Roman period, the diet available to somebody living in a prosperous town or villa could therefore have looked remarkably different. But as this is done over a long period of time, maybe people wouldn't have seen any sort of difference in time, because, you know, 200-300 years, nobody would have known what was happening in the Iron Age. These things have been introduced gradually, and so the archaeological evidence for food gives us something particularly valuable. It shows that the Roman conquest was not simply about armies. It was about people. It was not just about foods. It was about animals. It was not just about emperors. It was about fruit and vegetables. Romanization could reach right onto the farm, into the kitchen, and ultimately onto the table. And these are the acute changes between this. One thing I'll say about this, I know we've got to 9. Just give me a few more minutes longer, please, folks. And when we look at this and we think, right, maybe this illustration's wrong, because there would be tighter gardens, there'd be smaller gardens. All those animals wouldn't be there because the ground would be churned up. So that's the difference. But when we look at the Roman landscape, more open, more agricultural use, more control. And that's what we see about Roman Britain after AD 43. Now, one thing I'd like to do quickly is just mention this, is that next week I'm going to try and tie down some really interesting archaeological evidence. That last night I think we managed to see something very, very interesting, right? I was challenged quite abruptly last night, and the challenge seemed to really fit in with what we're doing. And basically what it is, in 1927 they were undertaking an archaeological excavation in Colchester. And this archaeological excavation in Colchester, where it says here, an intriguing discovery allows us to catch a glimpse of a sort of shop where settlers may have brought their glass. Yes, the Romans had glass shops. That basically, when they excavated in the High Street in 1927, what they found was that they found a lot of melted, smolten glass from the Roman period, right? And interesting enough, the glass itself had been put on shelves. And why had it been put on shelves? As the building had become engulfed by fire, the temperature was so hot. So in other words, you've got 900 degrees C to melt the glass. They found drips of glass on the samian-ware bowls which were on the floor. So the heat got through the building so quickly that it carbonized the shelf. The shelf stayed there longer, and therefore it heated up the glass, and it all melted onto the pots, the samian pots down below. Now, it's really interesting, right? Because the archaeological evidence is quite queer, because when the person wrote it, they basically said that maybe the shop had been set fire to before the Boudiccan period, and that there's an indication that there's another fire that may have occurred in Colchester before Boudica. And therefore, if that's the case, which we're going to look onto next week, if that's the case, it really tells us that the black layer that goes across Colchester is not archaeological evidence from just the Boudiccan period. It might relate to this shop, for example. It might relate to something that happened before, right? When we look at Pompeii and Herculaneum, what we see damage to Pompeii and Herculaneum occurring before AD 79, as we've seen in one illustration tonight. And as we close, let's just sort of do a little description. And we're just going to do this little description, and we're going to close tonight, I promise. So glass vessels had been displayed on higher shelves because the shop was destroyed by fire. Many of these had melted and dripped onto the pottery vessels below before the building collapsed, crushing everything within. It is tempting to view this destruction as a result of the Boudiccan fire. However, the shop may have come to its unfortunate end a few years earlier. Samian potters stamps their wares with names and vessels. These pottery stamps are from AD 50 and AD 55. And if this was an elite shop established in Colchester, the shop may have been established before AD 43, and the shop may have gone up in flames before the Boudiccan rebellion, telling us a completely different story, challenging the narrative. Let's go and do that next week if I can find the information. If not, we're going to be doing the layers for the destruction of these three localities. So exciting stuff next week. I hope you're going to say this was as exciting as they all said last night. They went on so long last night that they wanted so much I couldn't give them any more, right? But you might say it's different. You might be a different mindset, but let's see what you've got to say. And those that want to see Mary Beard and Alice Roberts talking about their kind of archaeology and not the Bethany Hughes and my archaeology, let's talk to you first. Bill.
Yeah, I found the lists of foods available and those introduced, fruit and veg. Very interesting, Carl, and the animals as well. Obviously, wheat wasn't mentioned, but spelt was being grown as early as the Neolithic period.
Bill, I didn't do that side of things because that's been covered a lot, right? But you are right. The Romans are introducing all that stuff. It's in my own book. You are right, but we just focused on the sort of green stuff more than anything. But thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, but the question is, did the Romans introduce different types of wheat as well to complement the native spelt being grown?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
I'm sure.
The Romans have been mucking around. There's something called about stalk yield, right? So what we've got longer, taller varieties in the Iron Age, right, which have less of a yield, and that's because you've got longer stalks. The Romans had started to work out if you've got shorter stalks, right, which means you've got less bedding in the winter months. But that's not the agricultural system that the Romans have got. When you've got shorter stalks, you've got more grain, right? And this is something that the Romans, a different variety of barley, for example, that the Romans are introducing, that is more appropriate to the Roman cuisine and higher yield than the Iron Age.
Be interesting to know if there were any variety of dogs going back into the Iron Age and Bronze Age.
Because this is a shorter class on a Wednesday, I cured things up a little bit quicker. But what we've got, we do have various varieties of dogs. But what the Romans are introducing is smaller dogs from sort of more eastern parts of their provinces, and you know, we do have the hunting dogs and like the greyhound and all that, those types of things. But yeah, there are lots of varieties. The problem is with a dog is when you're excavating a dog in the archaeological record. Obviously, if you're getting a smaller skull, you'd think that that's like a younger dog, right? So you're going to need to date it. So if you can work out that smaller skull is either from a puppy or from a smaller variety, you've got all of these problems with dogs, right? Not the same problems that you get with sheep.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
So, Bill, Bill, I do believe that you're going to be not with us for a few. Are you still with us this month?
Yes, I'm with you till the end of August, which is next Wednesday. But after that, my commitments then in September and October means that I'm going to miss most of the talks. So I probably will catch up with you in late October now, Carl.
Okay.
After next week.
Okay.
I know you're going to miss me. I know you're going to miss me.
I will, because you said that you want to bring a little prezi back from Crete. I want some of that sweet white. Is it baklava, that type of stuff with these nuts in it? I want one of those.
Oh yes, that's pretty
Any
sweet.
sort of
That is
baklava.
full of sugar and honey.
Yeah, anything
Okay.
like baklava, that would be absolutely great. So, Bill, you did say.
I did. I keep
No,
my promise.
no competing with Goss Madeira cake, right? Because Goss Madeira cake is very special. Oh my God!
Okay, we'll do.
I do love it. So anyway, Richard.
Very interesting.
Hey!
Just for Henry.
Thank you for that. Right, we're going to go on to Henry in a moment, but
Many
before
thanks,
we do
Richard.
Henry, you've got Anne wants to say something. Go on, Anne.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I love hearing about the animals and the husbandry and yeah, I did hear about the dogs. I don't know whether it was the Romans, but somebody decided they'd breed smaller dogs. Yeah,
Yes,
I don't know
that's for the Roman period. That really is.
Yeah.
That really is.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah, it's it's all fascinating stuff.
Thank you. And Goff, the leek thing is would you say leek's more of a German thing? Anyway, go on.
I wouldn't know. Well, they never. When I go to Germany, never have leek.
Okay.
But they're from the north, so I don't know. But
okay.
But I'd have thought that the Romans introduced all the citrus fruits, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you would say that there's something like quince already here, but yeah, so lots of the citrus fruits, and that's something not on the list. And I think that that's not on the list because we're still not as clear on that. But obviously, when we think about apples, there's natural varieties of apples here. Obviously, the Romans are introducing new varieties of apples, and what we do see, we actually see beds on some Roman sites where we're excavating sort of root beds, and we can understand that in those root beds we've got certain varieties of trees in there, and those varieties are going to stem from apple and so on. So yeah,
I was led to believe that the chicken is the origins of the chicken are from the Far East and Middle East. So maybe I'm wrong there.
Now this is the thing, you see, because when that's the big argument, because the variety of chickens from the east, you are dead right in saying are quite extensive. But when you're talking about, we do get chicken bones in earlier layers before AD 43. And yeah, that is a really good point. That's a big mystery. Yeah.
All right. Oh, those were the Colonel Sanders chickens, weren't they?
Yeah. Kellogg's, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. Very good. Enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Goff. So the last one we need to hear from is the elusive Henri, who's probably going to be going somewhere else very soon, but he won't tell us. So Henry, oh, go on.
Yeah, you can't be told because you're not allowed to know.
I know. Okay,
for various reasons. But anyway, actually taking up Goff's point, obviously we previously looked at the pre-trade routes actually from the Mediterranean along the south coast. So chickens coming up from Persia, etc., Iran would be an easy route to have actually come into the country. And we knew trade from Cornwall tin going backwards. So what are you going to trade? Chickens for tin?
That is a really interesting one. And when you think about it, there's nothing wrong with a large amount of eggs, you know, and you've got feathers. There are. It's a lot more than just. It's a lot more than just sort of you know, chicken meat, you know, and yeah. So we're talking about all that trade, and that's not going to leave a trace in the archaeological record. This is the thing. That's one thing I'll say. That maybe one of the closing points now. When we're talking about this tin trade, right? It's almost as if it's one way. You know what is going on, and obviously, if they're trading sort of chickens, if they're trading wild, you know, if they're trading sort of livestock and so on, right, and fowl, right, we're not going to know immediately where that's come from, because when you're trading tin, right, which is quite a very valuable product, right, what are we getting back for it? Good point.
And I think also you got products like grapes and wine and all sorts of things would have been coming backwards and forwards way before the Romans even decided to land on the shore.
Exactly. And one of the things I think we're reminded of citrus. Anyone ever tried to grow a lemon tree or an orange tree? You can't do it. So in our conditions, so if people are bringing over oranges and so on, right, none of that's going to leave any archaeological evidence. None of those trees are going to grow. So all of these things are really interesting, but in absence of evidence, we can find one or two things in the archaeology.
So I think also you forgot wild garlic, which grows here pre-Roman anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. And there is,
lots of substitutes for the various things that are brought in.
Exactly.
What about pizzas?
Pizzas? Shut up.
Yeah.
Domino's don't deliver here.
Actually,
pizzas in Pompeii.
There is one. There is that evidence that they've got paintings and are showing bread, and they're saying, obviously, early types of pizzas, and you're thinking, right, okay, there's no tomato yet, but there's a variety. You could use sour gram. You could put that on there. It might stink a little bit, but you could put a little bit of cheese on there. You know, all these things. They got cheese. So there you go.
Okay.
Right.
So anything else, Henry, before we finish?
No, that's good.
Right, okay then. We're going to call that a night. That's been absolutely brilliant. Hopefully see you all next week. Thank you for your supporting me. And say good night, Garth. Good night, Anne. Good night, Henry. Good night, Bill. Good night. Good night. Have a nice night. Bye. Enjoy Alice. Enjoy Mary. Bill enjoy Mary. I think he'll love that. Wait. Yeah, the question is, did Bill say he was going away with like 10 women? Flipping heck.
No, 2.
3. I was listening.
Just checking.
It was 3. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not just happy with one woman. He's got to have 2, and he's not happy with 2 women. He's got to have 3.
You're looking jealous.
Oh God, could you imagine?
And you've been tangoed.
Yeah, could you imagine having more than one woman in your life, Henry? No, no.
This is live.
Yeah, but Michelle knows that. No, I just couldn't deal with another. No, no. That's enough. Good.
Right.
Flipping heck. Oh, and look, the missus said, right, can you get right sugar zero iron brew, right? So I had to order a load of these bloody things, and they actually taste quite good.
You should have asked me. I could have got you some from a special place.
Arr. And well, that's bloody wrong. Yeah, you could have got some real stuff. You could have got the real ones with the real sugar in them.
You'd have to pay the export duty over the wall.
Look, don't get me started on this, right? We've Michelle's got an Etsy account, right? And I probably told you I've got a relative in Ireland, and I sent her some of my books, and she said that this was about 4 years ago. She said that they wanted £50 customs for 4 books. And she said that somebody sent her a bottle of whiskey over to Ireland and they wanted 50 quid customs for that. So we thought that this was not happening, right? So we just we sell gorse flowers, right? And somebody ordered some dried gorse flowers in Ireland. So the gorse flowers like cost a tenner, right? So adding tax and everything on was 33 quid, right? When it got there, they your customs in Southern Ireland wanted another 14 quid. Why is this?
You'd be better off going on the ferry and just meeting them at the ferry port and coming back.
Exactly.
There you are. Suggestion.
There's the suggestion. There's a suggestion. On that note,
I'll leave you.
I got to fondle some sheep.
Right. Well, I'm still unpacking cases before we pack the next case to move on again.
Can I just ask you something, right? Yeah. When I'm planning to go abroad next, right? I've got my passport. I've got one mobile phone, not in a case, a charger lead, one credit card, and that's it. Why do you need to take all your stuff? Oh, you've got a woman going with you. Oh, Christ, I forgot.
Also, I've got multiple locations to go to.
Yeah, but you don't need all this stuff.
Oh, no, but the second passport as well, just in case.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about the second passport. Yeah, we forgot about the green passport. We forgot about that one.
Right.
Anyway.
Enjoy yourself.
I will. I've forgotten where we are. So I'll see you next week.
Yep, I'm here next week. But then after that, I need to check the diary.
All right, then.
It could be different countries. Right.
We'll speak to you then.
Bye then.
Take care. Cheers, lovely. Bye. Yeah. Bye-bye. 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 Top of the world to you, sir. Do you know what? I really want to get into film stuff today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I haven't even checked if there's anyone online. Oh my God. They've got a load of people online. Oh my God. What's the top tonight, pal? I've got a pear tree. Bill Howells is being a silly chap. Richard could do with a pizza tree. Oh my God. Yeah, all right, we got a few of you on. How's it shaking? I didn't know you were there. All right, cool, man. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe to my channel and like. So hang on, guys. Hang on. Let me read the fucking messages. Right, okay. Right. The little geezer. Love you. What? Do you love me, Drabo? There you go. Night, everyone. You're still there, Drabo. Are they off back to care home? No. You should get in the mix, Carl. What? Gotta have 4 women, mate. 1 per leg and arm. Iron brew is the best. Guys, should we do an iron brew testing, right? Don't look, I can go crazy now. Right. Okay, here we go. leave those sheep, mate. Look, I can do whatever I like with the sheep. It's not lambing season. I know it's not, but I still got sheep to deal with. All right, mate. Hello, mate. Any new acting done lately? Don't go crazy, mate. Deep breaths in. Hang on. Right, okay, guys. Do a test. Hang on. Right, do a test. Hang on. Oh, here we go. Blue river dancing down the stream. Anyway, guys, I gotta do something on my phone a minute, right? I gotta do something. We gotta have a fag, right? Here we go. Gotta have a fag, right? We're having a fag, right? I know you love me, man. Hang on, guys. We gotta do the iron brew test before I go, right? Hang on. Hang on, man. I got a bloody yeah. Hang on, guys. I got to do something on the phone, right? So, guys, let me do something on the phone, right? I know you love me, man. I know it's the love's there, man. Right. So, oh God, what was the name of what is the name of this now tonight? Roman background. Is that what we're calling it? Is that what we're doing? Right. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go. There we go. It's not letting me do anything. What a bunch of knobs. Right, anyway, you're on Grinder, ain't you? Yeah, I am on Grinder. I'm there. Right, hang on. Right, there's nothing wrong with Grinder. Come on, Cat. Cat, come on. Come on in here. Oh, in here. Right. The problem is with Grinder, right? Yeah, So right, I'm smoking a big mega stick with you, mate. Yeah. The problem is, man, right? So what we gotta do, we're gonna do the iron brew, right? We're gonna do the iron brew, right? But let's do the iron brew, right? Here we go. Let's do the iron brew, right? This is the iron brew, right? We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the iron brew, right? So this is good at the end of an archaeological lecture. I've got a catcher. It's my pussy, right? Are you there, Glenn? Love it, man. Right, we've got to do. Oh, don't jump into the fucking light. Hang on, right. Shotgun it, mate. Right, go. Right, go on. Right, here you go, guys. Here you go. Let's open it. This is my iron brew, fucking 0. Right, original. No, the thing is, right. It says on the back here. It says iron brew and best essence of iron brew. What? Brewed. Brewed. They can't even spell brewed, right? Brewed in Scotland to a secret recipe. Guys, we change the name of the fucking lecture now. Let's change it to Iron Brew. Let's call it Smoking Weed. Right, that's the name of the lecture now. Right, smoking weed and Iron Age. Iron Age. No Roman stuff. Right, that'll do. Nice title there. There you go. Iron Brew. Nice Roman stuff. Right. Is this your first taste? I think, oh God, Iron Brew will always be the best. Guys, hang on, guys. Fucking hell. Right, guys. I like to go a bit nuts. Right, first answer to the question, right? Have I done any acting work? I'm working on a new film, right? End of, right? So have you seen my film? Wildfire Outbreak UK. I'll chuck a link on that. So guys, you can watch it after this. Right. You got to look at the link, right? Right. No, so yeah. So don't forget, right, that the Wehrmacht used to hate fighting alongside the SS, right? Because some of them were knobs. Right, so here we go. Right, so guys, I gotta share this here, right? Here we go, videos, right? Guys, watch Wildfire Outbreak UK, right? This is like an updated version, right? So there's loads of versions of it, but this is the latest one. Right, so you've got to watch this, right? It's this one, right? It's called Wildfire Outbreak UK, right? It's called Wildfire Outbreak lot last camp, right? No, it's not about gay people like me, right? It's about something. Anyway, so there we go. I gotta do something a minute, and where I gotta edit this, edit video, right? Guys, I'm multitasking, right? I'm a bloke, right? Well, most of the time I'm a bloke anyway. Right, let's gotta do the iron brew in a minute, right? So gotta do the iron brew, right? I've got to do the iron brew. Yeah, we've got to do that, right? Let's do it. Let's do it. We can do it when you B&Q it. Remember B&Q? They were, yeah. Right. I tell you what, we're having a gay time, man. That's good. We will both watch it after this. You bring us both a lot of joy, mate. You do bring us joy, mate. Fuck me. What is it? What's going on, man? Fucking hell. By the way, we gotta open the iron brew a minute. I gotta, yeah. Where's I gotta see. Yeah, you got joy, man. We gotta have a bit of joy. Fucking hell, where's that fucking thing going? Oh, fucking bollocks. Right, okay, so I'm gonna do that there. Surely you heard the fucking voice then. Oh, you hear the voice? Fucking hell. Yeah. Oh no. Right. Okay. Right. Game of soggy biscuit. Whatever that is. Right, guys. Right. Right. Is anybody out there? Is there? You can tell if anyone's out there because of fucking lights. I cut the light on it. Right. Cut the light. Right. What you do? Right. When you're out. Right. Right. Hang on. Where's the light? Right. There we go. There's the light. I heard the voice. Did you? Did you? Right, anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to do some iron brew, right? Iron brew, right? We're going, right, yeah, like, did you hear that, guys? Did you hear that? We're doing the iron brew, right? Now, remember, right? Guys, remember, it says on here, oh, I wasted a bit. I've got enough fag now. Iron, original and best. Essence of iron brew, brewed in Scotland to a secret recipe since 1901, right? That's fucking bollocks, right? And the reason why it's bollocks now is they've now put fucking zero sugar in there, right? And guys, if it's a secret fucking recipe, right, why have they got the ingredients on the back of the can? Do you know what I mean? I know you want fine detail. We're going to express this, man. Get it down there. Get it down. It's got like a it's got like a watery taste. You can taste the water, right? Yeah. Yeah. Weirdly enough, in this iron brew, you can taste water, right? As you don't get in normal drinks. And it's like a silky taste. It's like the sweeteners are actually okay. Oh my god, man. I got to let the cat out the bag. Hang on. Come on out the bag. Right, go on. Go on. Out. Right. Right, we've got to let the cat out of the bag. And I got to invade Poland. Right, guys, why don't you guys, right, join me, right, also on a Tuesday night, right? Because I do this on a Tuesday night. Yeah? I do this on a Tuesday. And as well as a Wednesday, right? So if you join me on a Tuesday, right, my people on a Tuesday read, oh, right, yeah. Can you still taste its iron brew? Hang on, man. Trebo? Fuck me. Yeah. It's got an iron brew thing to it. You've got to join me on Tuesday, guys. Right, right. Drebo and Liam, right? You're my homos, right? You are two of my homos, right? You've got to, as a prescribed homo, right? You've got to join me on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, right? And to join my other homos, right? They're great. It's good being a homo, right? Can I tell you this, right? I was a pirate, right? Working for the council, right? Yeah. I was a pirate working for the council. Yeah. And oh fuck me, that's good, man. I was a pirate working for the council. What's the story? Morning Glory by Oasis. That's good. Oh yeah, working for the council. I did it for 7 months. Right? No, actually, no. I worked for the council longer, but I was working for the council for 7 months. Right? Fuck me, I can't remember what the story's about. It's getting to my head. What was the story about? Fuck me. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I said as a pirate, yeah, as a Welsh pirate, I gotta get into a Welsh pirate. Hang on, let's get into a Welsh pirate. We gotta put some pirate shit on. Hang on, pirate shit. Right, pirate shit. Right, this is pirate shit. It's a pirate boot, right? So this is putting pirate shit on, right? Right. No, Liam, get it right. I was working as a pirate for the council for 7 months, and then I worked for the council for like another 2 months. So, oh fuck me, no, I worked for the council for 7 months as a pirate, and I worked for 2 months, right, as a drug dealer. No, I worked as something else. Anyway, as I worked for 7 months as a pirate, I used to go up to people and say, I've got to get into my Welsh pirate. Hang on. How do I get into my Welsh pirate? Hang on. You don't go, "Arr." No, you get into my Welsh pirate. Hang on. I'm from Cardiff. We're a Welsh pirate. You know, I'm a Welsh pirate, you see. So when I work for Ceredigion County Council as a pirate, it was wonderful, you see. So I used to go up to people and he used to say, "Oh, I'm a very gay pirate, you see." I say, "I'm a very gay pirate, you see." Say pirate boots. Right. I'm a very gay pirate, you see. And I want to dress up as a pirate. Hang on. So basically, right. What pirate top shall I do? Did you play that one? So maybe I'll do that one there. So no, not that one. No. Right, yeah. Let's dress up as a pirate, right? Yeah. Here we go. Right, let's dress up as a pirate. Here we go. So dressed up as a pirate. Anyway, so it's good, isn't it? Right. So anyway, I go right. Yeah, I used to go up to people and say, "Oh, I'm a gay pirate," you see. And I used to sisters be saying, "I'm a gay pirate," you see, because I'm happy. Yeah, I'm a happy. Oh shit! I got the wrong uniform on. This is a German uniform from the Second World War. Bollocks. Right, hang on. Right, hang on. We got the wrong uniform on, guys. Sorry. If you're Jewish, I'm sorry if I've just upset you. Right, maybe we want that one. Right, we want that one. Where's my other one? Oh my God, where's my other top? Oh, here we go. Pirate top. Yay, we got pirate top. Right. Sorry if I have just upset a few Jews. Sorry. That was for another film. Right, pirate top. So there we go, pirate top. There we go, guys. I forgot what I'm talking about. Anyway, there was a complaint made to the council, right, by a gay person who said that I shouldn't be using the word gay to describe me when I wasn't gay. How do they know I'm not gay? Right? Do you know what I mean? You know, it's terrible. That's the point. I believe that is the point, right? I am bruised, gone to my fucking head. Yeah. The problem is I'm not good with alcohol, and as Iron Brew is 0% alcohol. So when it says it's 0% alcohol, there is alcohol in it because they're saying it's 0% alcohol. They wouldn't put it 0% alcohol if there wasn't alcohol in it. It's a fact. Fucking hell. Yeah, I've got to I've got to go in a minute. Do you know, I've got the whole world in my hands. Yeah, it's a shame about that. It's a big shame. I come from my granddad. Yeah. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to clean the globe for a bit. I hate alcohol. Yeah. Yeah. But you shouldn't hate. You shouldn't hate, man. Right. What you should do, right? You should have hope, not hate. Right. Hope, not hate. Right. The whole, I left the whole world in my hand. I left the whole world in my hand. Oh, here we go. My baby mommy. Anyway, so being gay, right? That guy was out of order, right? Because, right? I don't know what I'm talking about. That guy was out of order, right? By complaining to the council, right, about me using the word gay in the wrong context, right? He immediately discriminated against me, presuming that I'm not gay, right? How does he know I'm not gay? You know, I could be gay. So why would he say that I shouldn't be using the word gay, right? When in fact the word gay, the word gay belongs to everyone. Do you agree? Do you know what I mean? Like, the word gay belongs to everyone, right? It really does. You're gay, right? What do you think to trans, right? I don't think anything. I really don't. I really don't give a fuck, you know? I really don't care. Do you know, I'm an actor, right? And I work with trans, I work with gay people, straight people, fine, right? When you've got a person assuming that I'm not gay, right? They are fucking out of order. They really, really do, right? They really do. And actually, the word gay, if it means happy, the word gay to describe your sexuality, that's fine, right? But don't whatever you do, right? Don't whatever you do presume my sexuality, right? I think that that's really, really wrong. It really is. So anyway, back to the iron brew. By the way, if you have iron brew, guys, yeah, you should have it. By the way, what do you think about Jesus, right? I actually wear a cross, right? Because I believe in Jesus Christ, not Christianity. There's a big difference. And this is the thing, right? That is the thing, right? Technically, right? If you're Catholic, right? Are you allowed to be gay, right? Because of their religion? I don't know. How did we get talking about gay anyway? Right? I think that was Drabo coming on to me, thinking I was gay, and maybe I am gay. I don't know. Allah all the way. Well, you know Allah, right? Allah, good old Akbar, right? You know, when I see Muslims, right? This is the big problem, right? I was actually learning Arabic, right? I should have actually been learning Persian, right? Yeah, there are actual Roman records of Jesus too, aren't there? Yes, there is. I tell, should we have a sensible discussion for a minute? Let's have a sensible discussion, right? Now, there's this guy that is there's this guy called Tinks, I think he is on TikTok. So he's walking across Britain with a cross, right? Which is great. So people criticize him, and I'm thinking, well, if you want to criticize him, just fuck off, right? We don't criticize you, so why are you criticizing him, right? He believes in he believes in Christianity, right? He believes in the word of the Lord and so on. I believe in the word of Jesus Christ, not Christianity. There's a big difference, right? The Romans talk about Jesus Christ in the early stages, not Christianity. There's no such thing as Christianity to begin with, right? Jesus didn't set out to set up a religion, right? Whereas Allah did, right? You know, when Allah's the name of God, and Muhammad set out to set up a religion, right? In the 620s, right? So you know, he went out to set up a religion, right? Jesus Christ didn't, there's two differences there. And seeing as Jesus Christ is one of the prophets of Islam, all this stuff about war is crap. Why do people fight each other? What is the need, you know? I don't get it anymore. I really don't. I despair. I really despair. I really do. Oh, by the way, anyone watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, right, I would love, right, because I'm on 4,300 subscribers, right, guys, right, if any of you guys, Drabo or Liam, want a copy of my book, right, Romans in South Wales, you want a copy of any of my ghost books, right, go on to Etsy, not Amazon, right, because they sold out on Amazon. Go on to Etsy and eBay, right, and if you did order a copy of Romans in South Wales, I promise, not only because what use a little bit of a trick, right, listen, right, eBay, right, pay the postage now, right? I don't give a fuck, right? So if somebody orders a book off me, right, then, you know, say they ordered a copy of my book, right? If I sent somebody 3 copies, not of this book, you know, a couple of my other books, you know, my ghost books or whatever, they pay for it, right? So if anyone did buy a copy of Romans in South Wales, right, from Etsy, or in particular eBay, then I'll send you a free copy of one of my other books and something else as well. Not a blow up rubber doll. Because I know Drabo's into blow up rubber dolls. Drabo, my blow up rubber dolls have got all holes in them, right? They're fucked, right? So don't have one of my blow up rubber dolls. It's just not worth it. You'll end up patching it up and you'll end up cleaning it out and stuff, you know. Job done. Right, guys, I'm gonna have to go soon. And the reason why I've got to go, right, is that I've got to go. Do you know what? I would really you know, I would really like to think that I could do like a live here, right? On an evening. You know, when I used to wander in the woods with the goats, well, that was great, but you know, it's just the problem is because it's dead here, you know, ground wise and stuff. There's nothing to eat to stop doing that, so they just stay in the field. Anyway, guys, so I'm thinking maybe of just coming on one night, just coming on, just doing it. Just do out and out, you know. Maybe a bit of music in the background. Problem is with music in the background, it's like a YouTube license bollocks thing, you know. I don't really understand it all. So you're going on Viva tonight. Viva tonight? What the fucking hell's Viva? I don't do fucking Viva. Grinder. Do you know what, guys? I don't really understand what Grinder is. What is Grinder? Because I said to my brother, right, who met somebody off like another dating site, he said, oh, we got to do the movie trivia things. Viva Street, right? Hang on, guys, just stop it, right? Anyway, Grinder, right? My brother met this girl off, you know, like a dating site. Don't know what it was, right? And I said, "Are you on Grinder?" He said, "I'm on Grinder as well." I don't think he knew what Grinder was. I don't really know what Grinder is, right? What is Grinder? Is it for like gay people? Is it for trans people? Is it just like a normal website? Viva. I don't know what Viva Street is. I don't know what it is. But guys, do you want me to do a movie stream one night again, right? I know you used to like my movie streams, right? So, fuck. They used to go so well, didn't they? So maybe, right? Why don't I, right, do a total utter bollocks movie stream tomorrow night? Just a movie stream. So if we do a movie stream, we might get Gary on there as well. Remember Gary? Gary! I tell you, if we do a movie stream tomorrow night, and I think, right, I do like movies a lot because obviously I'm in them. So yeah, I'm in films, as you know. I've seen you there a few times. Viva. What the hell? Right, guys, Liam, Explain what Viva Street is, please. I do not want to look at Viva Street if it's dodgy. Right. Right, Liam, right. Just spell out what Viva Street is, right? Otherwise, Drabo is going to shave the hairs on the end of his knob, right? And he's never going to forgive you. That's it. Drabo's got hairs on the end of his knob. It's true. So you got to tell me. You can't. I'm not going, right? Search it on your phone, mate. Viva Street. I am not searching it on my phone. No. Drabo, what is Viva Street? Please tell me. God, fetting sake. Right, guys, don't forget, if you want a copy of my book, Romans in South Wales, you can have a ghost copy of the book, right? Book it now, Etsy. I tried shaving them, but they grow back. Cool. Yeah, fair enough. Please search it. No, I am not. I'm going to get somebody else to search it instead. No, I am not going to do Viva Street. I am not. Right. What I'm going to do, right, I'm going to type in the bar, right, what is Viva Street, right? What is Viva Street? Right, what is Viva Street, right? Viva Street. Viva Street, you twats! It's classified used cars, you fucking twat. Oh, you bastards. And it says National Ugly Mugs Viva Street, right? My God. Oh, it's about sex workers. Oh my God. Right. The problem is, right. I used to be a sex worker myself, so I should know that. You bastard. I used to be a sex worker, so shut up. It was a bit weird, right? When I say a sex worker, right, I actually did escorting, right? I was with this agency, right? I did escorting, right? It's not on my spotlight or whatever, and I did escorting, right? Anyway, they used to give me these bookings. I used to get paid £150 an hour. And I used to think, right, it was like meeting women, and they were usually big women, right? So I met this one big woman in Cardiff, and she just wanted to go out for a meal. And fine, we sat at a table, and she went. And I thought, right, I got paid 300 quid for that, right? It was great. So I just thought, yeah, I got paid £150 an hour, right? So this one woman, 300 quid, right? For 2 hours. And I thought that was fine. So I met this other woman, right? She just needed somebody to, go to an event with her. I was like, I've only got 150 quid. So I went to an event with, it was like a works do, right? And it's a bit sad because people didn't think that she had a bloke. So I turned up really dressed up smart. She turned up, and I thought, fuck you, right? So I think that really helped her out, is confidence. Yeah. I wanted to stay longer, but I had to get up the next day because I'm seeing my children, whatever. So I felt really guilty about that. I feel really, 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 really guilty. Anyway, she didn't book me again because I think that she just needed me for one event. Anyway, I had this other date, right? And this woman, I had this booking, right? It was for like 4 hours, right? And it was, 4 hours, 150 quid an hour. I just thought, okay. And it started at 10 o'clock until 2 in the morning, right? So I thought, right, okay. Now, with the escort agency I was with, they used to have a tick box thing, right? And it was like one of the tick boxes, because with these other two women, right, it was like they were nice enough women, both of them big women, but I've had relationships with big women. I've got no problem with that. And it just felt all right, used to touch their hand, and in this little do, right, just as I'm going, it's just like really nice peck on the cheek, and a peck on the cheek. And then she said, go and kiss me on the lips. So I kissed her on the lips, and she had a massive smile on her face, and that was it. That's good for 150 quid. I was happy with that. Anyway, so I went to this other event, meet this woman, 10 o'clock, and it was just like I turned up, right? And it was like, so I'm gonna have a house party, she said. Right, okay. on the tick box, as I'm driving there, right, I hadn't read the whole thing. I just thought it was like the other two women, and it said that she wanted intimacy, right? And that's why she wants me there till 2 a.m. Oh, great. Okay. So I was so what it is when I'm driving anywhere, right? I usually look at my phone before I get off and to make sure, so I'm not worried about anything. So I just thought, right, and with my OCD, it's like, fuck, you know, how am I going to deal with this? So I got to be honest with you, I I I got to a door, right, and anyway, I just I just couldn't go through with it. So I just couldn't go through with it. So I wasn't paid for the job because I just couldn't go through with it. So that's my experience of being a sex worker. Yeah, what's wrong with that? So anyway, I'm glad you asked me to look at Viva Street, right? Oh yeah, Viva Street. Yeah, I know what Viva Street is because I heard it on the radio. So Viva Street is like the sex worker thing for do you know, should we change the title a minute, right? What should we change the title to now? Let's change it to should we talk about dogging a minute? Let's talk about dogging, right? So YouTube. Let's talk about dogging, right? Let's increase, right? Right, let's talk about dogging, right? And okay. Right, okay. Right, all right then. Here we go. Hang on. How do I do? Let's talk about dogging. Right. Here we go. Dogging. Right. Let's just do dogging. Guys, should we do dogging? Let's do dogging, right? And actually, what I might do is we'll do dogging again, but let's introduce dogging, guys. Let's just do dogging, right? Yeah, maybe I'll be chucked off YouTube talking about dogging, right? Maybe we should do. I don't know, don't know. So, do we call it dogging now? Dogging. Smoking weed, right? There we go. That's the new title, right? So anyway, right, dogging, right? Has anyone ever done dogging, right? Anyone ever done dogging, right? Have I ever done dogging? I've wondered about it. You've been out for that. You've been out for that a few times, right? Well, no, that's fair enough. I'm glad you're honest. It's fine. The problem is with dogging is it's got a bad name. And I think the problem with dogging is that there are certain rules with dogging. It's like when the doors of the car are locked and the windows are up, you're allowed to watch, right? And then the other rule is that when the doors are locked, and then the windows a little bit locked, right? And you can put your hand in, right? You can have a touch, right? There's certain rules. But when the windows open and obviously the latch is up, you can get involved. So you got the 3 rules with dogging, right? Well, these are the Welsh rules anyway, the rules that I know about. So whenever I've mentioned dogging, right, people go, "Oh God, it's dogging." Don't want to get involved with that. But my experience of dogging is when you mention it to people. Like I used to have this student called Sandra. She's no longer with us, right? And she was taking a dog for a walk in a park this one day, right? And then she this was like a Thursday, and she come to my archaeology class on the Friday, right? And she sat down in the class, and we knew what dogging was, and we thought she was having a laugh, right? So she said to us on the Friday, she said, this guy come up to her, right? This guy come up to her and said, I don't know, let's call her Sandra, but he wouldn't have called her Sandra, maybe he did. He said, oh, Sandra, do you want to come dogging on Saturday? Do you want to come dogging on Saturday night? And she looked at her dogs and she said, yeah, I'd love to go dogging. She didn't realize that this man didn't have a dog with him, right? She didn't think anything of it, right? So so she said, oh, I'll be coming out. Then she thought, right, yes, she said, oh, I'll come dogging with you on Saturday. So she said this to the guy on Thursday. When she come to my class on the Friday, she said to everybody in the class, she said, oh, this man's invited me to go dogging, right? I'm looking forward to it, she said. And all of us in the room, we basically said, oh, you know what dogging is, Sandra? She said, yeah, it's walking the dogs. And we thought, oh, she's having a laugh with us, right? He said, oh, you have a nice time, Sandra, right? Anyway, she turned up on the Saturday, and this guy had turned up with a woman, right? And he said, she said, oh, I've come out dogging, right? This was on the Saturday, and the two of them said, oh, you come out dogging, have you? To them, and they said, yeah. Then she turned around and said, well, where's your dogs? And they said, well, we didn't know you were into that as well, they said to Sandra. And the penny hadn't dropped at this stage, but she was really worried that they hadn't brought the dogs with them, right? So they said, oh, our car's over there. And Sandra thought that they had the dogs in the car. So obviously Sandra's a bit gullible at this stage. So she goes over to the car, and there was this naked man in the car, right? And she then realized there was something quite dodgy about this, right? And she went off, right? She just left the situation with the dogs. Anyway, she come up on the the Friday night. And in this meantime, she'd found out, and she come in the class and she said, you fucking bastards, why didn't you tell me it was like sex dogging, right? And we just couldn't believe it. She just didn't know what dogging was, right? It's the same thing about the Viva Street. I realized what Viva Street was then after I looked it up, right? Because, I didn't actually look at the thingamajig, but, I looked at what is Viva Street, and I suddenly realised, right? And before we go now, because I've got to go in a minute, because the missus will be wanting to know where the fuck I am. Yeah, it's my work. And then the other thing as well is I was dating this woman once, right? Called Karen. She was called. She had a little bit of a Welsh accent. She used to say, oh, Carl, should we have sex? Should we have a bit of sex? She used to say, let's have a bit of sex, you see. Anyway, long story short, Karen did the same thing. She was really fucking gullible, right? Karen was really gullible, right? Typical Karen, right? So she had two dogs, this Karen, right? And she went for a walk, right? And then what happened, right? She said, this guy come up to her. He said, all right, love? Yeah. She said, oh, she wanted a fag, right? She said, all right, love? She said, oh, yeah. Yeah. And he said, do you want to come dogging now? And she said, oh, well, I got my two dogs here. You come and bring your dog. And unfortunately, it didn't go much further. He said, oh, you like bestiality as well? And she said, no. He basically honest with her. He said, you know what this is about, don't you? And she said, no. She said, it's about people having sex in cars, right? And it's like, well, she did a runner from that. Then maybe she went back again. She's a Welsh girl. But the problem is with dogging, that's a misnomer, isn't it? It's not just about sexing cars, right? Because the cars are like there to indicate that there's people in the bushes having sex, right? And the one thing I would say about dogging is like take loads of lube and use contraception, because I got to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to end up with fucking HIV. I wouldn't want to end up with any sort of viruses or whatever, So that's it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to call it a day. So what we're going to do tonight, tomorrow night, we're going to do movie stream, right? We're going to do guess the movie, and I'm just going to get you to try and guess the movie, right? So anyone who's watching now, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I really want you to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to go on to Etsy and buy my book, Romans in South Wales, or Ghosts of Glamorgan. Get onto Etsy, and if any of you guys, I know it's you guys, right? Because you'll have ordered tonight, and you can get free books, and I'll send you a load of other stuff in the post, right? Might be a tenner, right? Your postage, right? But eBay pay the postage, send you a load of other crap in the post. Job done. Even a pack of little miniature soldiers as well. You can play with them. Job done. I know you sub, man. We are subbed. I know you are. I know you are. I know you are. Right, Drabo and Liam, I've got to go, and really appreciate your time, and share my channel. Get the news out there. Tomorrow night we're doing movie stream for an hour. Gary will be there as well. Might be a few other people. Love you, man. Love you guys. And we'll don't forget to look me up on Instagram. You know I'm on Instagram. It's Karl with a K, James Langford on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Fucking LinkedIn. That's shit. Yeah. And also, right, guys, I would love you guys, right, to subscribe to my other channel. Right, so let's just get you my other channel, which is it's called here we go, and you go. Okay, right, so I'm thinking, there we go. No, I got the wrong bloody thing here. No, that's not me. Right, we're going to go back to there. I want you to get onto my other channel, right? Because I do have another channel. Actually, I've got two other channels, but the main one is YouTube. Hang on, I just want to get the other channel to you guys. Okay, let's just get that up there. Okay. Well, where is my channel? Right, it should be very easy to find. Very easy to find. If I go back to there, right? If I go back to there and type in, I just want to get the link over. I can't see your comments a minute. Okay. Right, okay, there we go. And we do that there. And I want to do that. Oh, I can't find it, man. I can't get off this bloody thing here. Oh my god. Right, okay. Right, here we go. Right, okay. Do you know when you can't do things on this bloody thing? Okay. Should get it on you now. I should get my other channel up. Right. I need some more subscribers on there, because obviously it's on like 300 and something, 300 and whatever. So I want to get more subscribers on that channel, right? What time for tomorrow? 10 o'clock tomorrow. Try and get some more in tomorrow. Have a good night. We will try. What time will be live tomorrow? 10 o'clock. So movie night. And I'm just anyway. My other oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know when you get these moments and you just can't, things just don't come together and you can't find stuff. That's what's happening now. That is what is happening now. Here we go. Whatever happened to the president in The Walking Dead? I don't know. Hang on a minute. There we go. I've got my other channel. I've got my other channel. Here we go. Hopefully get on my other channel, right? And here we go. Okay. Right, there we go. Can I get on there? Bollocks. Do you ever get these days where it's not working? It's just not working. Right. Walking Dead. Oh God. I got another channel called The Walking Dead UK, if you can find it, right? And it's like it gets a bit lost in the main The Walking Dead, right? I do love The Walking Dead universe. It's fucking great. They say the Queen is a walker in The Walking Dead, right? She's long dead by now, isn't she? Extract the filming. Right, if I get on there, right. It's Wildfire Outbreak UK, guys. That's the name of the other channel. So it's Wildfire Outbreak UK. So if I get a link over to you, it's Wildfire Outbreak UK, not The Walking Dead. So that's my other channel. I would really love you guys, right, to get over to that channel and just do a sub, right? Just do a sub and like some of the stuff on there. That would mean a lot to me, to be honest with you. So anyway, guys, we're on 10 o'clock tomorrow. Everybody else who's watching, like and subscribe. I'm off. Diolch yn fawr i chi, gwelwch chi eto. I'm going. And there's nothing in my chat box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Diolch yn fawr i chi, gwelwch chi eto. See you all tomorrow. No night, guys. No night.